Okay, we are live and foregoing the normal musical intro. That's because we're going to go live immediately here now to Edmonton to the Carney campaign. He's campaigning. They're wrapping up his final day of the election campaign. Here, and we're going to pick up some other election stuff tonight as well. We'll also get you the latest on the Lapu tragedy in Vancouver. But let's go live right now. Carney speech.
As Amarjeet did, in all seriousness, I want to.
This is live.
I want to begin by acknowledging the shock, the horror, the heartbreak that we all felt with the terrible events in Vancouver, the horrific attack at the festival last evening. I want to commend the quick, rapid, compassionate actions of those who were there and the first responders, and extend my deepest condolences and wishes for strength and compassion to all those affected, the friends and family who lost ones and the injured. I know all of you and all Canadians join me in solidarity with them. You know, the strength and the resilience of the Filipino-Canadian community here in Edmonton Southwest, across Edmonton, in Vancouver, Lower Mainland, across this country. It's exemplified in many ways, but I drew back on in the middle of the night when I was learning of this, Nihan, which is a concept in many ways of family, of spirit of community cooperation and unity coming together to achieve a common goal. And I think we draw on that at this incredibly difficult time in solidarity, in comfort and grieving, to unite in a common purpose. But if I may, it is also the spirit, because it's a very positive spirit. It's about buildings. It's about coming together to help to build. And this is much of what this election is about. It is coming together. Are we going to come together as Edmontonians, as Albertans, as Canadians, unite in a common purpose? And you have that opportunity to determine it. You truly do. Uniting in a common purpose to win this trade war that President Trump has launched against us, and to build an economy strong. Now, it is true that President Trump has betrayed Canada. He's betrayed Canada. And he has ruptured the global economy. Our old relationship with the United States is over, unfortunately. And America's leadership of the global economy is over. And this is a tragedy. This is still in play, but it is a tragedy. It is also our new reality. We have to recognize it. And in order to respond to this huge change in circumstance, we need a strong, positive government. We need a strong, positive government. Because as the president has made clear again in recent days, America is trying to break us so that they can own us. Now, we didn't ask for this fight. We did not ask for this fight. But, hey, that's right. I grew up in Edmonton. I'm telling you, man, if you were playing the CAC, you were playing the Knights of Columbus, when someone else drops the gloves, Canadians are always ready when someone drops the gloves. And we will. In this trade war, just like in hockey, we will win. We will. You know, 100%. 100%. I'm an oil. I don't do that. I'm not messing around. Look, hockey, got a couple of my old hockey buddies outside in the overflow. Hockey played a big part of my life. I grew up with the values that I learned right here in Edmonton. Right here in Edmonton, I learned at the kitchen table. At the table, class on the ice, Laurier Heights, where I learned to skate. I know my skating, that's about the right level of loss for my skating. That's why I was a goalie. My parents were teachers, and they stressed the importance of working hard, supporting our community, and caring for other people. That's very Edmonton, very Edmonton. And my coaches taught me to play hard, be ambitious, but because this is Canada, to stay humble. These are Edmonton values. These are Alberta values. These are Canadian values. And they're values that we can draw on to make the best country in the world even better. Je me suis appuyé sur ces valeurs quand j'ai géré des crises au Canada et à l'étranger. Et aujourd'hui, je m'appuie sur elles pour faire face au président Trump et bâtir une économie renouvelée où tous peuvent vivre. Where everyone can live. Look, I put my hand up 3.5 months ago because I felt that this is a time. And I feel more strongly now that this is a time for serious leadership and a united country so we can emerge stronger from this crisis. As Amarjeet just said, we need solutions, not slogans. We need calm, not chaos. We need action, not anger. Because we see every day what the politics of slogans and anger and chaos are doing south of the border. They are dividing and they are weakening the Americans. And that is why, that is what, they are not united anymore. United in name only. And now the Americans want our strength. They want our resources, our water, our land. They want our country. There's your answer. There's your answer. Because Canada is not America. Canada is not America. Thank God. America is a melting pot. Look around this room. We're all Canadians. We're all Canadians. We're all distinct. We're all Canadians. Canada is our mosaic. In America, healthcare is a big business. In Canada, it is a right. Aux États-Unis, on ne reconnaît pas les différences. On ne reconnaît pas les peuples autochtones. Et il n'y aura jamais de droit pour la langue française. Les États-Unis ne sont pas le Canada. Et le Canada n'en fera jamais partie, jamais. Jamais. So look, when I launched my leadership in the middle of January, there still was the shock of the betrayal. We're over that now. We're over the shock of the betrayal. But we should never forget the lessons. Now, we have to look out for ourselves, and we have to take care of each other. So we will build. So we will win this battle if we're strong and united. And the question really is How do we do that? What do we do? I'm part of the answer. I'm part of the answer. That's my argument. I am part of the answer. I need more. I need all of you. First thing we need to do, thank you. First thing we need to do in a crisis is to distinguish between what we can change and what we can't. And after 78 years, we're not going to be able to change President Trump. So we need, that's true. It's a little set in his ways. So we need a leader who can stand up to him. We need a leader who can stand up. Le Canada a besoin d'un leader qui comprend que nous sommes maîtres chez nous. A leader who understands that we're masters at home. We can control our own economic destiny with the right plan. And to win, we need a plan that we implement with overwhelming force, because it has to overcome the anxieties that people naturally feel. It has to overcome the uncertainties that businesses are facing. It has to replace more than what the crisis is taking away. And that is exactly what our plan for Canada Strong will do. We need, in that spirit of Ayan Niyan, we need to come together to fight, to protect, and to build. We will fight. We will fight Trump's counter tariffs. In fact, we are already. We're fighting them with our own counter tariffs that cause maximum damage in the United States with minimum impact here in Canada. But you know what we do? Yeah. I like to say, look, the Americans understand lawyers, money, and Fox News. So we got the tariffs that hitting them in the wallet. We're lawyered up and we're suing them all over the place. And we're going to have Doug Ford on Fox News every single day. It's good. He's happy. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. We're going to use everything we got. Look, but what we're doing with the money, we're wearing his hat. What we're doing with the money from our counter tariffs, we are taking every dollar, every cent, and we are giving it back to the workers and the businesses that are most affected. But you know what? Above all, what we're doing is uniting to build Canada Strong. The core of our plan is to build, baby, build. That is what we need. Notre plan va bâtir des millions de logements, une superpuissance énergétique, de bonnes carrières dans les emplois spécialisés, de nouveaux corridors commerciaux avec des partenaires fiables autour du monde. We are building millions of houses. In fact, Amarjeet and I, last time we saw each other, a few months, 6 weeks ago, we made an announcement around home building, doubling the rate of home building. We are going to build an energy superpower right out of our way. In both clean and conventional. You know, you sense a theme here. We have to build together. And that, build, baby, build, that is a theme. All of us build. That's the spirit. Go. You know, to that end, to that objective, against the advice of some, at the end of my first week as Prime Minister, I convened all of the premiers of the provinces and territories in Ottawa. And I know, that's not what my advisors said, but we got together, and the point was, we're in a crisis. What can we do to fight back? And the answer was we should have one Canadian economy, not 13. And they all agreed. They all agreed. First time I can't remember last time they agreed about anything except that they hate the federal government. That's okay. They can hate the federal government. They can hate me as long as they agree and do things. My government, if we are elected, we are committed to remove all federal barriers by July 1st. Free trade in Canada by Canada. Overall, our plan will usher in a new era of investment, of jobs and growth, creating over $20,000 in new growth for every Canadian in the next 5 years. That is what's making us strong. So, the point is, we can give each other far more than the Americans can ever take away. And as America retreats from the world, Canada will lead it. That's what we'll do. You know, we can do these things if we rely on experience, not experiments. I've managed budgets before. I've managed economies before. I've managed crises before. I know what to do. And so I know that in a crisis you build forward, you don't cut back. In a crisis you come together, you don't sow division. Look, let me tell you, I've talked a lot this afternoon about, although not as much as I could, but I've talked a lot, about building a strong economy. And I want to say a few words about why I care, why we Liberals care about building a strong economy. We all care. Exactly. We all care. We all care. For the good jobs today and the better futures for our kids. We care about a strong economy because we care about people. We care about people. It goes back to that value of community. It goes back to that value of community. It goes back to knowing that we're all in this together. That's why. That's why we implemented $10 a day childcare. That's why, if we're elected, we will expand dental care to 8 million Canadians. That's why. Fix the post office too. That's a good. That's good. It's actually on my list. No, if we fix it, he'll be happier. We're in this together. I'm on a roll here. We're investing. Okay. All right. Look, seniors too. Yes, which we've enhanced the GIS. Now, I got time. I do. I'm here to listen. I am. Look, because we're all in this together, we're going to make major investments in healthcare, particularly mental health care for youth. And the treatment of addictions. We know we have the scourge of addictions. Yeah. And because we're all in this together, my government will be committed to working in real partnership with Indigenous peoples. You know, Canada is more than a nation. We're a confederation, a sacred set of ideas and ideals, but because we're Canadian, based on practical foundations. We know we're not perfect, but we always strive. We're close. We always strive to be good. We don't do things because they're easy, but we don't do them because they're easy, because they're right. This is a country that does things because they're right. And our core strength comes from our resolve to work together. Okay. United, we built a great nation and I did grow up here, in sometimes harsh conditions, with a sometimes hostile neighbor to the south. United, we created universal public health care. Unis. Unis. Unis, nous avons bâti un pays qui rassemble des langues, des cultures et des croyances différentes. Unis, nous avons bâti des institutions culturelles essentielles, comme CBC Radio Can. Now you see, and I've seen this in the last 3.5 months going across this great country, how united Canadians are becoming, buying Canadian, exploring everything this country has to offer, supporting our friends and neighbors who are in the crosshairs of President Trump. United, we are standing up for Canada. And that's why, because of you, that's why I'm standing here. Because Canada has given me literally everything. My family, my education, and my values. And I'm running to give everything back to Canada. But now here's the ask. In order for me to do so, I need your help. Tomorrow. Good. Unconditional? Is that unconditional house? Okay, good. Because tomorrow, the people of my hometown, of your town, of Edmonton, could decide who is Canada's Prime Minister. And I am asking to vote with me for positive reasons, regardless of which party you may have supported in the past. There is literally there's 1 day left in this campaign, and because this is the City of Champions, we know this analogy. There is one. This is the equivalent of being down to the last minute of play in the third period of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, by the way, there are cities in this country, I won't name them, that don't understand what I'm talking about. In Edmonton, we understand it. Edmonton, of all places, knows what to do. It is time to leave everything on the ice. That means knocking on more doors. That means making more phone calls. That means, above all, voting Liberal so we can stand up to Donald Trump, so we can build a united economy, so we can build Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
All right, so that's the way it is right now out in Edmonton on the last full day of campaigning in this Canadian federal election. We have a lot of other stuff to share with you tonight too. I'm going to update the Lapu, Vancouver horror, where 11 people have been killed in that tragedy with the vehicle running people over. We're going to update you too on what's going on with the Poilievre campaign, and we might go to the phones a little later in the broadcast as well. So yeah, and other top stories. Set of my headphones, video rolling from the wrong place here. So let me just kind of re-cue here. We jumped into this broadcast without the usual opener. Let me just get this prepped, and then we're going to start the show the way we normally would in just a moment. I'm also going to maybe address some of the comments and things from last night. Okay, let's kick things off the way we normally would. This is sort of take two on the opener of tonight's Maverick News broadcast.
A single voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
And to keep things balanced, and of course to satisfy your conservative taste buds, here's a little Poilievre on his final full day of campaigning out in Peterborough, Ontario. Here we go.
Thank you very much. Who's voting for change? Who's voting for food and homes you can afford for a change? Who's voting to axe the taxes for a change? Who is voting for safe streets for a change? And who's voting to bring home the Canadian promise for a change? Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour renforcer la promesse du Canada que chacun qui travaille fort peut avoir une belle vie dans une belle maison abordable sur une rue sécuritaire. Mais pour le faire, il faut que ça change. On ne peut pas payer le prix pour un 4e mandat libéral. On a besoin d'un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper les taxes et les impôts, bâtir des logements, libérer nos ressources et renforcer le Canada pour faire changement. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you very much. This guy says he loves my jeans. I normally don't wear jeans. Thank you. And this is, thank you, a treasured letter, a beautiful message. What an incredible crowd we have here today. Thank you very much for rallying for change with me today. Before I begin, I want to encourage everybody to offer their prayers to the Filipino community in British Columbia who faced a horrific attack yesterday. All of us are reaching out to them and offering our total solidarity. May the lost souls be blessed and rest in peace, and may their families have peace here on this earth. Thank you very much for sharing your prayers with them. This is a time of hope, a time to restore the promise that this country made to each and every one of us. A very simple promise. And it was this: you work hard, you get a good life, you get to live in a nice house, on a safe street, that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. That your origins don't matter. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going, whether you've been here for 6 months or your family for 6 generations. That was the promise that every single Canadian was born into or arrived to receive when they came to Canada. But after the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, that promise is broken. Everywhere I go, I meet people who are struggling and suffering. I meet parents who've lost loved ones, lost children to drug overdoses. Young people who say they'll never be able to buy a home and start a family like their parents could not long ago. I meet single mothers who go to bed hungry, their stomach, their fridge, and their bank account empty, not knowing how they'll pay the bills the next day. I met a man in British Columbia yesterday who's spending $5,000 a month on rent. All he does is work. This is not the country we were born into. This is the result of a disastrous liberal record over the last 10 years. We cannot afford a 4th term. Canada needs change. And I need Michelle Ferreri to help deliver that change. Michelle has been fighting for the people in and around Peterborough. She serves the people. She goes onto the street and meets with people who are trapped in homeless encampments or addicted to drugs. She is known to go and sit on a street corner with someone who is suffering with addiction, and she brings me their stories back to Parliament Hill. She's the kind of person who is genuinely a member of the House of the Common People, a real servant, a bottom-up, grassroots champion of the people. I need her to bring real change so you can afford food and homes and live in a safe street again. But I have some bad news for Michelle and also for Phil Lawrence. Phil Lawrence here, the great Phil Lawrence, Member of Parliament.
Okay, we're going to actually just pull out of this because we're going to be going to Carleton, I believe, with Pierre Poilievre shortly. That's recorded from earlier today. He has 2 live events, one in Ottawa, ongoing right now, but then an actual full rally in Carleton. I think probably in about a half an hour. So maybe an hour. I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll try to bring that stuff to you live as well. Now, Jagmeet Singh was at that Filipino festival out in Vancouver yesterday, just before the horrific incident, car attack, what I don't know honestly what to call it, because we don't have, even with the news conferences that have been held, don't have really a lot of facts, a lot of information. 11 people killed. This is what it looked like yesterday.
Celebrating here in Vancouver, across BC, celebrating Lapu Day. I have a very special friend. My mom's from Cebu. And I've got a very special friend here, my friend Jagmeet Singh. He's a champion for people. And we've got 2 more days before the election. He's here to celebrate Lapu Day. Give it up for Jagmeet Singh.
I just want to say a very happy Lapu Day. Y'all know how to turn up. The vibes have been amazing. So give it up to everybody out there. You've been amazing. I just want to shout out Lapu celebrating the resilience of a hero who fought back against colonialism. That resilience is incredible. And to celebrate a hero like that is an honor to be here. ¿Cómo está acá? Mabuti Pinoy Mabuhay! All right, an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Salamat po. And I appreciate you all. Appreciate all the love. I look forward to hanging out with y'all, maybe dancing and jumping up with y'all in the middle right here. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Salamat po. Thank you.
We're planning to build the Filipino Cultural Center. Jagmeet Singh, he supports them in Vancouver. All right,
Thank you.
okay. And back to our host, Carla. And it's Tornado.
Okay, so that's the way it was. And family event, last year's incident festival, no incidents, no interactions, negative interactions with police at all, like a year ago. And then at the tail end of the festival yesterday, after Jagmeet Singh left, we had this tragic incident with initial report said 9 people killed, and then that was updated to 11. I do have a little bit of footage here. I want to be careful what I show you for a bunch of reasons, not the least of which is sensitivities on YouTube, but I have all kinds of footage. I can share a little bit of it with you here. And this is what it looked like. On the scene. The caution over him, we may see some things here that might be a little bit blurring. And since the incident, we've had numerous media conferences, updates from first responders, from the mayor, from politicians, the municipality of Vancouver also involved. They're keeping people updated on the situation with their municipal website. And we also have this live update, or it's not live, but it was, they were broadcasting this out live. Not just a short time ago in Vancouver. This is Mayor Ken Sim and other public officials from the city of Vancouver. So let me bring this to you. I have to cue this for you. Here we go. We have the video from this news conference. This is the most up-to-date information available, and here we go.
Just walk us through the protocol for determining the safety risks for an event like this, and what led to the decisions of there not being a heavy barriers and a more police presence at Lapu.
So we did this.
Sure. So there's a formula, and we'll get into this in the coming weeks. It'll be transparent, those answers, but I can tell you off the top of my head and at this moment. So there is a formula where an assessment is done. It's everything from social media, scanning all the social media. Is there anyone out there making threats on this event? Is there a potential pop-up demonstration? Is there somebody associated to this event that has a history with people, organizers, just a whole gamut of items. We also look at the past history of the event. So last year, I had mentioned earlier, there was 0 interactions with police at this festival. It was a family-friendly cultural celebration involving kids. And we wanted to maintain that based on that information and that threat assessment. We don't want to cage everybody up at every event in the city of Vancouver. That's easily, we can do that like some other places in the world, but it hasn't been warranted here. And just so you know, we did police this event. During the day, we had one lost child found by officers who were there. Somebody had lost their car. They didn't know where they had parked it. We helped them find it. And there was another public assistance call, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but we were there when we were called upon. But according to the assessment, there was no need to lock it down like we would some other more high-risk events based on the intelligence we gathered. So the key word is in gathering intelligence and assessing it, and this did not meet that threshold.
Another question for you. Photos of the suspect have been circulating around social media already. I know you're not releasing his identity, but through the multiple interactions he's had with police and health professionals, were there any interactions in the day prior to the event and any interactions that led you to believe that he might have violent tendencies?
So I have to respect the investigation. The questions you're asking, we did not, from our knowledge at this point, have previous interactions leading up to this event. Immediately leading up to this event.
Hi, I'm Susanna Su from Phoenix TV. I have a question for the mayor.
Contrary to a lot of
So you shared that the city would be changing protocols or better protecting large events in the future from tragedies happening again. So could you talk about that in details and what will be changing in the future to better protect large events? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So what we do is whenever an incident like this happens, we become very, we'll do a debrief, we'll assess, everything that has happened to date and, learn from it. And we're also proactive as well. For example, just this week I was actually just in Boston with Boston PD and NYPD and state and federal agencies to see how they how they secure the Boston Marathon as an example. So terrible coincidence of timing, but this is the stuff we take public safety very seriously. We've been proactive and all the things that we have done to date, we're continuously learning and making sure that we bring best practices into securing our city.
Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Penny from CTV News. I'm just curious why there's such a narrow definition in your risk assessment, because it sounds like it's oriented around threats and around bad actors when have seen situations in the past, obviously to a much lesser scale, but somebody could be having a medical incident and lead to something like this. So does that factor into your judgment here, or how does that, because it seems to be like if you're looking for, terrorism, I can understand that, but there's other, as we're seeing here now, and will that form into your calculus in the future?
Sure. So if I understand the question right, so as I said, we did police this event when someone lost their child. We were there within minutes. When someone thought their car was stolen, but it was actually parked somewhere they couldn't remember, we were there in minutes. And there was a third incident. So the police are there. They're there in the neighborhood. If there's a medical emergency, fire's there, ambulance is there. So, it's not like we're not in the neighborhood. We're just not marching up and down the street, and we're not putting concrete barriers up with big dump trucks. For the intelligence we had and no threats and previous history of the event, which was a very fun cultural celebration involving young people, majority of it held in the school yard, not accessible to vehicles. So it was not, we try not to cage people in. And it's not that type of environment or family, where we're trying to, have families from doing what they want, celebration and so forth. So we were there, we're in the neighborhood.
Sorry, can I just add
Yeah.
something? Thanks, Penny. I think the bigger issue, though, is if, this is a mental health issue. This tragedy happened at an event, but situations like this can happen anywhere. And so I think we have to really step back and ask, what is the root cause of our challenges here, and how do we address that? This isn't just about, putting up barriers at every single event. Are we going to be putting up barriers on Robson and Burrard? Because every time someone crosses that crosswalk, there are a lot of people there. And so right now the community's really hurting. The city's really hurting. And I just want to let them know this whole team here is completely committed to not just making events safer, but our city safer.
And I'll just touch one more, just following up on the mayor's comment. We got to, the question is, why is this constantly happening with people that need help? Last year we had, just last week we had the young victim, female on the seawall. We had last year the male ran up behind someone and cut a limb off and then ran down the street and stabbed him in the back. Why? Why is this happening? So, as the mayor said, we can't predict one-offs, and we certainly don't want to create a police state. So the intelligence led up to a proper deployment for the information, and we were in the neighborhood for other assistance.
I guess given your comments, though, it makes me extra confused as to why, if you are seeing a rise in all these mental health calls and you don't know when and where they're going to strike, I'm not saying necessarily that it has to be a dump truck everywhere, because I know that's very expensive, but whether it's cruisers or some sort of other alternative, because these event organizers are typically volunteers, they don't know. So who makes that final decision as to what assets get deployed?
Well, when it comes to health-related issues, you don't know who on the street walking around has an issue. You can't be every 10 feet on every block. Could be in a mall, could be somewhere else. The question would be, how do we get to the root cause and fix it? It's not policing the symptom. We got to get to the root cause. We got to get people help. And it's not putting more cops on the street. Certainly, we're crime fighters. We're not health care fighters. So we need something at the back end. And those are other areas of responsibility, not the police.
Mike Howell from Glacier Media. I just wanted maybe to ask the Acting Chief Rye. So the public clearly understands this. You're aware you've had complaints to the police board about police with carbon rifles at Italian Days, at Pride Festival. We've seen heavily armed officers on Remembrance Day with dump trucks. So that the public clearly understands, how is this, the Lapu Lapu Festival, different in terms of assessing it to, say, Italian Days?
Well, again, it's based on intel, and it's based on crowd size. It's based on, problem persons that have been entered in the system from other events. So, for example, the ones that we only deploy those kind of precautions at about, I believe, 8 events based on intelligence. So, Pride Parade, Celebration of Light, Italian Days, Visaki. And there's maybe a couple more in there that I can't remember off the top of my head, but those have warranted, based on the intelligence, that there's going to be protesters there's going to be countering groups, there's going to be maybe a confrontation with somebody. It's all based on history, intel, gathering. We've got a robust intel gathering attached to our planning section. So that's what makes it different, is all those factors. It's just like collecting intelligence for any other criminal kind of environment that we're looking at. You scan every piece of the environment where there's a bit of information. This did not warrant that. We did all those scans, and there's no history. It's a family-friendly cultural event with no history on any system, on any platform, and previously, last year, there was no incidences at all. So.
To follow up, at the scene today, I noticed a lot of police officers like 2 or 3 blocks from the scene, going door to door. Can you explain what they're doing?
They could be doing a number of things. They could be looking for anybody that had cameras in their house, probably the most likely thing, video prior to the event occurring. That would be my first inclination, and there are other investigative items they may need to follow up, but it would be video most likely.
Hi, Rick Good from Freelancer Press. In your description of terrorism that you're ruling out, you noted political and religious-based ideologies. Is this taking into account ideologies that are not motivated by politics or religion? The incel movement, anything like that?
Sure, I was using a definition. You could, depending on what textbook we want to look at, I was taking a snippet out of it. We know terrorism is related, for argument purposes, some sort of ideological belief carried out with violence to, hurt people and to pressure a public perception on an item. So it could be political, it could be religious, could be ideological, could be a number of things. In this case, with this individual, there's no information to believe that was the case.
Hi, Moira Whiten with the Globe and Mail. A year and a half ago, we had a stabbing attack at a Chinatown festival, similar, family-friendly. Was that event, should that have raised red flags or different flags for the planning of security at this event last night?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I've already said, like we police 2,200 events and 1,000 protests. That's 3,200 different events that that we're looking at. We follow a robust teamwork, stakeholder, city, fire, ambulance. Everything's assessed on the table. So whether something happened in one neighborhood, which is a neighborhood very closely connected to a very troubled neighborhood, there's different information pieces that come in, and so it'd be difficult to take one template from one neighborhood with one set of facts and intelligence and apply it to another event that was actually in an enclosed area of a school.
And maybe approaching your question from a different perspective. Once again, I think we have to get to the root cause of these challenges. So if memory serves me correctly, during the Chinatown Foundation event, there was that incident at the end of the event, and within 10 minutes, the VPD had that person in custody. And so, as Acting Chief Rye mentioned, we can't create a police state here, right? And so it doesn't get to the root cause, and the conversation keeps coming back to mental health. We need to take care of people that are sick, get them the care they need. It's the only humane thing to do for those individuals, and then we start to avoid horrific events that are occurring on a regular basis, not just in Vancouver, but throughout our whole country. And that's the conversation we have to have going forward, or this isn't going to change.
Thank you. Yes, deeper problems for sure. We also have Asian Heritage Month starting later this week. Plenty more community outdoor events starting with the summer in Vancouver. You're encouraging people, Mayor, to go out to these events to celebrate their culture, be with their communities. What are you doing before this review is complete, before all the facts are known, to ensure that those scenarios, those events will be as safe as possible and that people will feel safe to go?
Well, I know our first responders here are incredible. We do a lot of, work on planning, and a lot of these events have a history. I know it's really hard to feel this right now. I get it, because look, we're also residents of this city. This is a city we love. We have kids, we have family, we have friends here. I was just thinking of my son today. He's helping set up the Sun Run. And so, yeah, we think about it. The feelings, they're understandable. And what I can tell you as well is the vast, vast, vast majority of these events are well planned and they go off without a hitch. And it is understandable when you have one of these horrific events that happens, it shakes us all to the core. And my only comment is, look, you see everyone up here today. We're here for the residents of Vancouver. They represent our family and friends as well. We want to make sure they're safe. And we will do absolutely that.
Thank you.
Hi there, Leanne Yu from CBC News. Just some clarification on the barriers in place. How many barriers were there? Where were they placed? Why were they lifted? And what were the protocols in place for lifting them?
I don't believe we had, barriers. We might have had traffic, the City of Vancouver traffic barriers to direct traffic and keep, but, if you're talking about different types of barriers, there's, cement barriers, you can use trucks as barriers, you can use bollards or a type of barrier. So we didn't remove any because we didn't place them, the trucks and so forth, at the beginning, at the onset, because it wasn't in the plan for this event because of the information did not warrant that for a family event.
I believe we had an eyewitness account who said it was possibly volunteers who moved the barriers just for people to be let in for tear down of vendor tents.
Yeah. So if volunteers are moving, it would have been traffic control kind of barriers, because if they were vehicle interdiction type of barriers, they would not have been able to move those.
Do you know if there was any sort of protocol for, say, asking for vendor ID to allow access into the event?
Well, there were food trucks there, and food trucks, there's a system in place in the City of Vancouver on licensing them and what events they can go to and so forth and so on. So I'm sure that was followed, but we will get through all that in the coming weeks. Right now, our prime concern is compassion and getting some answers for the families and getting this individual through the criminal justice system. And that's the priority, the families, and making sure this individual is treated by the law the way he should be treated. And then down the road, we'll get through all those pieces of information.
Thank you.
Hey there, Sarah McDonald from Global News. First question is for Interim Chief Rye. We spoke this morning and heard from you about how this suspect has a lengthy history of interactions with police. We know that you had an interaction in April 25th, the day before the event, and then in March, so within a month and a half, less than 2 months before the event yesterday. Can you detail, even ballpark, the number of interactions Vancouver police have had with this suspect during his time as an adult over the past 12 years? I think I commented, we've had significant interactions with him, from my understanding, on health-related issues, and again, respectful of the investigation and the integrity of the investigation. It's probably not appropriate for me to get further into those details until the right time. Can you comment or confirm on any confirmed documented diagnosis of schizophrenia?
I can't confirm any of that, and I wouldn't.
Okay, and Mayor Kinsim, one for you. We keep talking about getting to the root cause here, the mental health aspect of it. You've been outspoken about that in the past, involuntary care. I think few would object to the notion that this province's healthcare system is adequate at this point. No place or city is worse impacted objectively than Vancouver by the mental health crisis. What do you want to see specifically happen, especially in light of yesterday's events? What will you lobby Premier Eby and the next Prime Minister for?
Yeah, look, first of all, I do want to be respectful. There are a lot of people hurting in this community right now. And so I'll still answer your question, but, I don't necessarily want to make this a political thing. Like, there are a lot of people that are hurting right now. But being consistent what we've said in the past, we do need mandatory care for people with significant mental health challenges or substance use disorder. It's the most humane thing to do. We have people on the streets who cannot direct their own care, and they're causing harm to themselves and other people. And so what I would say, and look, it's not directed at any one political party here, because it doesn't matter who's in Victoria and who's in Ottawa, the same thing will apply, because this has been going on for far too long and throughout many administrations. We need that mandatory care faster. We need more of it, and we need it faster. We cannot take a government approach to this. Lives are on the line. Communities are at stake. And I would challenge any elected official to go to that community right now and say, we're working on it, and it might take a little longer. These are difficult. That community is going through a really difficult time right now. And we owe it to them, and we owe it to Vancouverites to go a lot faster on this.
Which does make it political in some ways. I think a lot of people would say this is going to become political, especially tomorrow when we have a new prime minister elected. What do you say to people who are saying, to Premier Eby as well, we want to hear more, we want tangible action?
Yeah, I would say we want tangible action. And look at it from one perspective, it isn't getting political. Yes, we do have a federal election tomorrow. And we will have a prime minister elect, whoever that may be, probably tomorrow night or early, Tuesday morning. And the same thing will apply, and it does not matter what party that person represents. We still need that help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Bob Homer from Freelancer Press. I'm just wondering, was there any discussion about reviewing the security for the Sun Fun Run this morning in light of the event?
Yeah, we, so last night, another members of our team were liaising with the city. There was conversations. It was a joint decision. We were confident the police could provide the security. The city were confident they wanted to proceed, and we concurred that we could deliver the security for the event, and that's what happened.
But was there a discussion about possibly canceling it?
Well, I wasn't part of those. I had a briefing on it, and yes, that would be a natural discussion point in light of what's happened, and but we were confident we could provide the security for the public.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Just one last question from me at the Globe and Mail, if there's time. Do we know where the vehicle trip began? The suspect left from, whether he was heading directly to the festival, he happened across it?
No, and it goes back to the earlier question. We're working through that in the neighborhood. Probably one of the reasons why we're out there canvassing the video, seeing exactly where, when, how he started. So that's part of the investigation.
Thank you.
One follow-up to the mayor. I believe I heard Liberal leader Mark Carney say this morning that he had reached out to you. And is that true? And if so, can you share details of that conversation in light of, you talking about bail reform and mental health, et cetera?
Yeah, like from a high level, yes, he absolutely 100% did call and reach out, and he did offer his support and the federal government support in Vancouver's time of need, and we are very appreciative of that. We did have a conversation around what the community needs right now. Like I said, the community is really hurting, and then we also talked about root cause issues and what we need to do as a city, as a province, and as a nation to set us up so these incidents don't happen. And so, we fleshed that out a little bit.
And what did he say?
He said it was very supportive.
Okay, thanks everyone. Barring any further question, that concludes today's presser. Just a point of clarification. Earlier it was referenced a community gathering with the mayor and elected officials at Kensington Park. That is happening at Kensington Community Center in the gymnasium tonight from 5 to 7. If you need more information on that or any other details from today's conference, you can contact media@vancouver.ca and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Okay, let's take a little break. I'm going to check in, see where we're at with that other rally out of Carleton with Pierre Poilievre. I shall return. See you in just a moment.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so just get you the latest information here. So what do we know? So the latest information, as you just heard, 11 people dead after that tragedy in Vancouver. The victims range in age from 5 years old, being the youngest, to 65. A 30-year-old suspect is in police custody, but no charges have been laid yet. Now, I do have video and photos of this person that was detained at the scene by people who were there. Now, we don't have a name. And because no charges have been laid, I'm going to say that this person was only detained by people at the scene. I'm not saying that. Let me see if I can find you the footage here. Maybe I've misplaced it or lost it. I'll see if I can get it for you again. It's been kind of a hectic day getting all this material together. Okay, I need a moment, so I'll be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
When that vehicle struck all those people yesterday, people who were there at that festival detained this person. No name. We're told this person is 30 years old, not identified, not charged with anything at this point.
Smile! Smile, you fuck! I'm sorry. Smile! Won't you fucking say what the fuck? Show you fucking smile! Smile, you fuck! I'm sorry. Smile! Won't you fucking say what the fuck? Show you fucking
So this is, to say the least, unusual. Here is the vehicle involved. And as you can see, extensive damage because there were so many collisions and so many people struck, and it's just an unbelievable amount of damage to the vehicle, to this SUV. But of course, the important thing is to be accurate without exception. Of course, mistakes are always made from time to time, but I try not to fall into that. And again, here's footage from the scene yesterday as this was unfolding. Now, Dragon called earlier today, and we were having a conversation. And, you know, the subject of what is terrorism, what is, you know, is this an act of terrorism? Some people, I guess other streamers out there, I'm not going to name any names, but apparently some of them are suggesting this may be an act of terrorism. But as you've heard from the authorities, it doesn't seem like this is falling into that category. We're going to do something a little bit in reverse here tonight. We're going to go to the phones, give you guys a chance to call in, and I'm going to keep one eye on all of the feeds coming in here tonight, just to make sure we don't miss this Poilievre event coming up in Carleton. It's the final event for the Poilievre rally, and we don't want to miss that. So stay with me. Here's the number to call to join the conversation tonight. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, we have our first caller on the line here. And let's go live all the way out to Alberta. Here we go. No, that's not it. That's not what we want. We want to go here. Got to get him up on the screen. It'll be a voice that's very familiar to everyone. And get him on the line here. There we go. Can you hear me? There we go. I think the phone lines are open now. Are you there? Hello? Maybe. There we go. Okay, let's get John up on the screen. Hello, John. How are you tonight, my friend from Alberta?
I'm sad. Brian Howe told me this morning about the incident in Vancouver. I'm sad. I'm very, very sad.
Yeah.
What's happened to our world, my friend?
It's very odd, isn't it? And it just, I guess this is not related to the election, and yet this feels like somehow it might be, must be, could be, should be. Is it just happening by coincidence right now, just as people are about to go to the polls? It just strikes me as it strikes me as something that would happen in the United States, John, during an election cycle. And here it is happening in Canada at a time when we're getting this sort of American style campaigning. I don't know if you've picked up on it or noticed it, or maybe it's just the lens I'm viewing this through, but the whole campaign all the way around feels very American to me. And this included. You look at what goes on during these US presidential elections in particular, and you get all these strange, crazy things going on. If it's not, wildfires, wiping out entire cities, it's drones that people are suggesting are from foreign countries or maybe from other planets, and they're here to destroy us all. And yet magically, once Donald Trump becomes reelected or the elections are over, these things fade away, and suddenly no more drones, and they're blood in the streets, fighting in the streets, people, chaos and mayhem and protests everywhere. And it feels like very much the same sort of thing here with this incident out in Vancouver. And yet maybe it's just a mental health thing. We don't know. We just don't have much information at this point. How do you assess it?
Well, Richter, kind of a sad story. Robert Howell, Brian Howell, the Lutheran Church, my wonderful mansion in Morrisburg, Ontario, Volker Gritschner with Gloria, he talks to his friends in Germany all the time. And there were two of these events happened before Christmas. If you remember, in the German festival malls.
I do remember that.
I think two different German incidents of the same thing. The one in New Orleans, it's like, it's sad. It breaks my heart as a Christian. It really, really, you can't go to a festival or a flea market or a Christmas market or whatever without being worried about being mowed down, slaughtered. Like the thing in Vancouver, like that was, and in Germany too. They were just in New Orleans. They were just slaughtered, mowed down, like just, I don't know what as a human being, I'm just sad.
I think you bring a good point, actually, John.
And
The
just so
fact
everybody
that
knows,
we
that's the
had
voice of Dragon, by the way, from Montreal.
Hey, what's up, guys? So yeah, I
Love you,
think you bring a
Dragon.
good
Love you from
point.
Alberta, bro.
The fact that we had two basically attack of the same vein, I would say, into other countries that was proclaimed terrorism attack can probably spark some, division, I would say, or some kind of opinion. People that would say, basically call that a terrorism attack, when actually I would probably not say that it is, because the poor guy, I mean, it's sad, but the guy has probably mental health. And if it is, I mean, this guy is not responsible for his action to the same degree that a normal person would go down on the road and mow down people. So yeah, and it's sad. I mean, we're probably in a down path in that direction. And I think, Rick, if you can probably uh, tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that the polarization of the social media again is, I would say, probably in counting to that, or probably it could be a precursor of what we see kind of happening more often.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money, Dragon. I would say that your observations are accurate. I've noticed, a few social media influencers out there as well, just posting things in a way that will generate clicks, whether that's their intent or not. That certainly is the effect. I saw one person, and again, I don't want to name names with regard to all this tonight, but I saw one person making reference to police, saying they've had interactions or that this person is known to police, and their response online immediately was, aren't we tired of hearing this from police? In other words, like, give us action on this. We're tired of you, of police being so tolerant of or putting up with these kinds of crimes. It's just these posts, they appeal to people at a base level emotionally. Their anger, it fuels bigotry, prejudice quite often. It's not fair or accurate to jump the gun and take the public to a place where you're giving maybe an incorrect assessment. The responsible thing to do is deal with facts as they become available, and not just sit there and speculate and get people all jacked up and give them information or a narrative that leads them to believe something that may not even be true. And the word terrorism, it's a certain definition, right? Terrorism is usually politically motivated, or even something potentially connected to war or political conflict between two strong political adversaries, where
Ideology too.
Now,
and
now,
so if you
Rick,
and the objective there is a coordinated, politically motivated, extremist kind of attack that is designed to like literally spread terror in within the population to achieve a political outcome. That doesn't appear to be what we're dealing with here really at all.
now, Rick, Dragon, I love you, man, from
And
Alberta.
we've got another new caller,
Dragon.
John, so very quickly so we can get to this new.
Okay, Dragon. I love Montreal. Going to Montreal, down on the train from Cornwall. Dragon, there is I'll be real quick. Dragon, there is, I think it's, help me out, bro. I think it's St. Catherine Street. In the summertime, it's blocked off, and it's food venues and restaurants, and it's a people only street. I think it's St. Catherine Street. They block it off, bro. And I mean, I've been there many times. I'm going to tell my friends from North America,
Quickly, John,
United
quickly,
States.
please. Let's come
Europe,
back to you, John. Who's the new caller on the line?
It's Isabel.
Well, go ahead, Isabel.
And I
I'll
just have a.
give you the floor for a moment.
Hi, guys. Hi, Dragon. Hi,
Oh,
John.
thank God we got our Isabel back here, bro.
My quick question is, because you want to go on to the next part of the rally here,
Mhm.
was this really not a prepared event? And if it was, because of what's been going on in the past in other cities, countries, was this not already corded off for this event? Or was this just like an open event and they figured, oh, well, you know, we're going to have a good time?
Probably open, Isabel. Open.
Yeah,
But that's a scary
basically
thought.
what I'm hearing is that you had, not like the big concrete barriers in place. They only brought in those traffic control barriers made out of wood.
Like the horses,
Yes, it's
like those
sawhorse
wooden horse
style
things.
traffic control barriers. Yeah,
But with,
which don't stop anything. They're not there for, that level of security. They're just there
No.
to block, mark it off. And so they
yeah,
can
don't
be
go
moved
down
by,
your street.
so they can be moved by volunteers or just people by hand.
And see, I feel the same way. We're getting the repetition from the police, and I'm not putting down the police. I mean, we need them, the good ones. We need the good ones, and I'm not putting them down. But you see so much of this crap going on, and these places are targets, and they know they're targets. Like it could be. I'm not saying no. It could be a target, and you've got somebody with a mental issue. And like you say, they're being pumped with, social media. These people just need a little spark and they're gone. And if this guy was already known to the police, there should have been something in place to protect these people. It seems it's always after the fact. Oh, well, we should have, we did it, we could have, we might have. But that's a little late when you got 11 people that are completely gone from the face of the earth.
Wow. Pretty sad. Pretty sad, Isabel. Dragon, St. Catherine Street, bro. Can you do me a favor? You need to talk to the mayor of the city of Montreal. Like, Dragon, you know St. Catherine Street. That's a major, that could happen there yesterday, bro, instead of Vancouver.
It's true. Well, to answer to your question, I don't remember when it started, but in the corner of St. Catherine Street, it's true that it's closed for vehicle, and from the 31st March 2025 until fall, from Stanley and McGill College Street, it's going to be blocked off from vehicle.
But Dragon.
Sorry, guys, just to let you know, I accidentally popped you off the screen. So just give me a moment here, John, so I can get you back up. Because right now, nobody can hear what you're saying. Hang on, they can't hear you, John.
Concrete barriers there, bro.
There we go. All right, you're back.
So yeah, to answer to your question, from March 31st, 2025 to fall, it's going to be closed up only for pedestrian to go around on St. Catherine Street from Stanley Street to McGill College corner. So it's going to be basically it's like the second years that this portion has been cut off from vehicle. And yeah, that's the thing. And there's no cement barrier that they cut the street from vehicle to come around, because actually you can come on one side, but not the say from north to south. You can pass through, but you cannot go on St. Catherine.
Oh, is that the rally now? I'm going to pop off and watch
No,
the
no,
rally
that's okay.
then.
Well, you can watch it right here, but it's just feeding in live.
Isabel,
They haven't started yet, Isabel. This is just the preliminary outside shots.
Isabel, you were missing out the CBC panel last night.
What's that?
You were missing out the CBC panel last night with the Dragon and the Rindy John. We love you.
Yes, I had a kind of a family incident last night.
Okie dokie. Okie dokie.
My daughter was pretty stressed out, so I had to take care of
Well,
her here.
and Isabel, we have a new member on the CBC panel, Isabel.
Who?
Well, it's Lori, our wonderful guy from Manitoba, I think. Lori is the newest member on the CBC panel. Yeah, I think so. I think the Dragon, Rickster?
Yeah, well, you know me, always family first, eh?
Yes, family first.
So what do you make of the crowd there, Isabel? What do you think of the crowd in, this is actually Edwards, Ontario, technically, where we're looking tonight.
This is a Poilievre.
Yes.
You don't even have to know it's Pierre. You just look at the crowd and you go, yeah, hell, it's Pierre. Everywhere he goes, now I seen something, and I'm not sure if it's true or not. I got it hit today on Facebook. Yes, the rag. Somebody had posted that they had caught on camera school buses dropping off people to Carney's rally.
Could be.
Yeah, but Isabel, I don't know what that means. Like, because I don't know if those, like, people are trying to make people think maybe that they're like secretly busing people in to bolster the numbers. I don't know if that's the case. It could simply have been shuttle buses. I don't know. This is just a post. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm seeing so much sort of misdirection going on with this campaign.
Yeah, I mean, those are the only kind of shuttle buses we have anymore, are school buses, right? Because we don't have Greyhound.
Well,
and we don't have Colonial Coach.
Well, when you're going into like a city center or an area where there's maybe no parking, they park people, in a field someplace or in a place where they've got parking, and then they shuttle bus them. I don't know why they had some buses there. And so what? Like, kind of big deal. Now, if you're bringing in like paid protesters or something like that, I've seen so much crap, honestly, online during this election, and just outright stupidity and honestly, I was going to say tonight, some of these streamers, they think you're stupid, folks. They think you are freaking stupid, and they're banking on it.
Not if you're on Maverick News, family. No stupid here.
Like, I'm sorry, but this guy here, and okay, all my conservative friends out there, their heads are going to blow up again because I'm going to say something, but this guy deserves it. He absolutely deserves it for this piece of that he's got going on here.
Poopy.
Isabel, I'm gonna pull off the Poilievre rally for a moment. I'm gonna show you something. This is just
Rick, is it Poopy? Poopy Doopy?
Poopy Doopy? Who's that?
It's Remy John. Is it Poopy Doopy?
I don't know what. Are you drinking, John?
Like, no,
what are you talking about?
I'm thinking about the thing you're gonna run.
Yeah, I don't know what Poopy Doopy is. I don't have any freaking idea what you are talking about, man. I haven't got
a Leo.
Oh, no, it's not him. This is Lucy on the Lucy with like incredibly stupid methodology, which I think is intentionally stupid. Here's Moose on the Loose with his chart showing that Carney's corrupt.
Charge of. So essentially, Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau have set this up. So they forced our entire country down this path, with Brookfield getting ready to capture all the money that comes in when they force carbon credits on all of us. So any company that's not super eco and green, they'll have to buy carbon credits from a company like Brookfield that produces them. And since Brookfield is the leader in this space, they will make hand over fist cash on all of this. They're going to make a fortune on this. That's what I think their plan is here. That's what I think is going on. And that's why Mark Carney won't disclose what his financial interests are, won't disclose what his assets are. They're in a blind trust. I don't know what's in there. I have no idea. Who's controlling his blind trust? His buddy from Goldman Sachs? Who's controlling it? Is it Bruce Flatt? So after seeing all of this, if we go to Mark Carney's SEC reporting here, here, coming directly from the Security and Exchange Commissions in America.
Yeah.
As it says here, Mark Carney on the side. So he's got 209,000 shares of Brookfield at $35. These are stock options, so he can buy it at this price. He's also got 200,000 shares at a strike price of $40, which currently, if you were to buy them and sell them, you would get $6.8 million profit. That's profit if you were just to buy them and sell them. So if he pushes forward this net zero agenda and this whole carbon capture agenda and jacks up Brookfield's earnings big time, and their stock goes from $50 US to 100 to 150 to 200 to 500.
Well,
Not only these stock options go way up in value,
If they
which what
go
I can
up-
tell from other journalists
You don't
are
know.
likely the options he got when he joined Brookfield. These were given to him as a bonus. He's likely bought a whole bunch of shares on
Likely
top
bought,
of
he
this. He
doesn't
might
know.
have 10 million, 20 million, 50, $100 million of shares in Brookfield
Could have
as
10
well
million.
as
He'd
this.
have
This is
750
the reason why we need to
billion.
know what he's
know.
invested in. What stocks does he have? Does he have an extra
Well, if you
100,000
don't
shares
know,
in
what are
Brookfield?
you
A
talking
million
about
shares,
then?
10 million shares in
You might
Brookfield.
have.
Because this
Could.
reeks of conflict of
Look at
interest.
all
This
these
is
lines.
beyond conflict of interest. In uncovered
There's
audio, Mark
conflict of
Carney
interest
admits
because there's a
that
lot of
massive
lines on that
institutions
chart.
like
You
his
must
firm
be
Brookfield
corrupt.
are promoting radical net zero policies not to save the planet, but to make a lot of money off of
Somebody
this. So
said
instead
he's
of playing the clip off
lot of
of
money
here,
off his
let's play it off of the
Yeah.
source, which comes from this 54-minute video. I'm going to play a little bit extra than what he had queued up there.
That market is, for all the headlines, is tiny. I mean, it's measured in the hundreds of millions of dollars. In a true transition, this is a $100 billion a year market. And so there's a big process that's underway to put in place the plumbing and the governance, the standards for a global market in carbon offsets, which we will see move forward probably by the end of the year. So that's a pretty exciting development. Third thing, and I'll stop on this, which is for the financial institutions themselves, what's their trajectory? What's their carbon footprint of the people they're investing in or lending to? And how do they expect to manage that going forward? Do they have a transition towards net zero? How much sustainable finance, said another way, are they going to do? And as I mentioned a moment ago, we have some of the world's biggest institutions,
sometimes they're
many of which are headquartered in the United States, who voluntarily stood up and said, we're going to manage to net zero by 2050. Actually, we're going to have specific targets by 2025 and 2030, so you can measure the short term. And they don't say this quite as loudly, but they're also saying and thinking, and we're going to make a lot of money off of this because actually this is the way the world's headed. I mean, I'm not sure exactly when we get there,
Whatever,
but
I don't know.
to be carbon competitive is going to be value creating.
Mark Carney has more conflicts of interest than probably every other politician in Parliament combined.
Really?
Mark Carney cannot be the next Prime Minister of Canada. He was in
Wait, what? Where does he? So then he goes from a bunch of lines on a chart to Mark Carney has more conflicts of interest than all other MPs in Parliament combined. That is the biggest load of ever. That is so stupid. It goes beyond being stupid. Moose on the Loose thinks you are stupid because he's feeding just complete that there's no valid methodology to anything that he just said. There's no validity to anything he just said because he's like saying he could have this amount of money. He could have that amount of money. He doesn't even know. He's making shit up. And then putting
I'd like
it on
to
some
see the
sort of a
receipt.
spaghetti chart and saying, look at this. And at the center of this chart, so it must be true because here's your documentation. He puts a picture of Mark Carney as though he's uncovered something, but he created the chart. He created all the numbers. This is like this. He might as well just be Donald Trump making up numbers. It's just the stupidest freaking thing ever. You know, I wrote a Substack a couple of days ago, Dragon. I think you read it. You know, Mark Carney, and this is the truth. Okay, this is the absolute freaking truth. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a human being on the face of the planet who has undergone more scrutiny. Nobody's undergone more scrutiny practically for conflict of interest, for ethics breaches, for a potential crime having been committed than Mark Carney. He served as the governor of the Bank of Canada, the governor of the Bank of England. And both of those cases, do you know the level of security clearance you have to go through? Do you know the restrictions that are in place just for a regular banker? Like my wife's a banker. She can't talk about anything with me about clients. She's bound by all these ethics, rules, laws. She has to take courses, meet professional standards to be the governor of the Bank of Canada. Do you know what regulations that guy faces? Do you know the restrictions that someone in that position faces just on the investments they are allowed to make? Do you think they're going to let somebody who controls the piggy bank for the entire country just have free reign over everything? The rich people rein that rich guy in. And then when he goes to the Bank of England, he has to go through all those security checks again. And the entire time he's there, he's under constant scrutiny. You think they're not going to keep an eye on the guy who has access to all the money? Do you think he's not gone through like all the security level checks for everything? Go read my Substack. I went through all this stuff. There are sources, like actual valid sources to back up everything I'm saying. Do you think that guy's a traitor? No bloody way. Not a chance, not a snowball's chance. Is Mark Carney a traitor to the country? He's loyal as the day is long. I can guarantee it because he's been checked inside, outside, upside down. They folded him up, tore him apart, put him back together again, checked his pockets twice, went through all of his financials, and he hasn't broken any rules. Now, here's the thing. You might not like the rules. We might not like the loopholes. We might not like that Mark Carney set up shell companies, or actually he didn't do it. Brookfield did it. He's the chair of the company, but he has a fiduciary duty to the investors to get them the best return on their dollar that he possibly can. He has a legal obligation to do that. He has a legal obligation to use every financial tool and use every financial rule to the benefit of the investors. And that's what he did because that was his job and he was legally obligated to do it, whether in that position as the chair of Brookfield, whether it was in the best interest of Canada or not. His job at that time was to serve the interests of the investors, which he did. Now, when he was the governor of the Bank of England, the governor of the Bank of Canada, he had different set of obligations, but he did his job. Never was he charged with anything. He's never faced an ethics breach. I checked all this stuff. He's never been nothing. He didn't face even a whiff of any kind of controversy at all, really, until he got involved in politics here. And then all these attacks ramped up on him. And nothing's been proven. That's why they have to keep going back in time. And I'm going to let you guys all in on a little secret that very few people know. While all these conservatives are bashing and smearing Mark Carney, and I'm not sitting here I just hate the freaking lies, okay? Stephen Harper, former prime minister, conservative, when he was in office, do you know who he wanted to be his finance minister? Mark Carney.
Mark Carney.
He asked Mark Carney to be his finance minister. And do you know what Mark Carney said? I can't. No. I decline because it wouldn't be proper for the governor of the Bank of Canada to jump straight into politics and go straight from that job into a political position because of the bad optics. It wouldn't appear to be right. Some people would have too many questions about it, and there could be potential, the image of a conflict of interest. So he declined. Harper wanted Carney to be his finance minister. And now all the conservatives are like, this guy's incompetent. Like, it's just rich. This is politics. All Mark Carney is just the newest liberal that everybody gets to hate because this is not the F Trudeau campaign. This is the F Carney campaign. And it's just... But they're having a real trouble actually making stuff stick. That's why Ezra Levant has taken a trip down to the Isle of Man to again kind of conflate and connect things in a way that make people believe that he's done something illegal. But even in his post that I noticed today, he's using the word the phrase tax avoidance, which just means you're using the rules to your advantage or the advantage of your clients, not tax evasion. If Mark Carney was guilty of tax evasion, that would be a crime. But tax avoidance, everybody tries to avoid taxes. I try to avoid them. Yeah. Would you pay more than you have to? You don't.
Yeah, and I can hear you. for me, just to hear the word liberal again.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. I don't want them.
Well, I know.
I don't want them.
Fine, and that's fine. I'm just saying that people that have the public is not well served by lies. The thing that the problem I'm having right now, Isabel, is I've never been a liberal. I've never been a Liberal Party supporter, you know, and I'm not endorsing any candidates. But I'll tell you, when I see people just lying, when I see people fabricating, when I see videos like that one I just played for you, which has no basis in fact, there's no real information in there. It's just designed to confuse people because he thinks people are stupid enough to buy into it. That's a big lie. And that's where they lose me. And that makes me question everything going on right now with the Conservative campaign, because I see a bunch of these people doing stuff like that. He throws all these numbers around. People don't understand finance. The general public doesn't understand it. So you just throw a bunch of numbers around, make up a chart with a bunch of lines on it, put a picture of Carney in the center of it, and then make this accusation that he has more conflicts of interest than all other members of parliament combined at the end of it. It's clearly not true. And in fact, he is under more scrutiny than anybody else. That's just a lie. So you lose me. You just absolutely lose me. And if this is something the Conservative Party is actually supporting by supporting these live streamers, by giving them money or other kinds of support, then I'm sorry. Like, I'm really questioning that, because what good is a damn government if you elect a government that is put together or wins a campaign using a bunch of freaking lies? If they're going to lie to you there in order to trick you into voting for them because they feel they're so desperate that they have to lie about stuff and engage in character assassination using mistruths, half-truths, misdirection, just outright lies. I don't want a government like that because they have no respect for us.
No.
That's it.
Me, I want to see the transparency. If you got something like that, let me see the real papers.
All
I
of
want to
them.
see what's on the papers.
And if you're going to call for it, then be prepared to do it yourself. And none of these guys have done that. Not Jagmeet Singh, not Pierre Poilievre. And in fact, they don't face the same level of scrutiny and they don't have the same level of legal disclosure requirements that Carney has, because he is the prime minister, actually. And so there's a higher level of transparency that he has to meet as the PM than those guys do, because they're not the PM. And Pierre, I am wondering now why he hasn't agreed to take that security clearance. Why? Because, yeah, he had it before when he was served in the Harper government a long time ago, but today he isn't taking it. And then Carney said something like why the other day, and it made me wonder, because if he goes to get it, then he undergoes a great deal of scrutiny, some of which that information would be made public. And just before an election, what is it that Pierre Poilievre might be hiding? I don't know. There's a valid question.
Now, does that expire?
What's that?
Does that expire?
Yeah, it does. It expires. Yeah, it's not valid for him anymore. You know, he says, "Oh yeah, I got it before." Yeah, but you haven't had it since, and it's expired. And with all this foreign interference in our election, and we know that some Conservative MPs are involved in that. Why haven't you got it? And then he's saying, "Well, because then it would gag me." And I was buying that for a while, but I'm not so sure now. I'm
still on the fence with that one. I'm still on the fence with that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I do, though.
Once we elect somebody, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's too late, right?
And like, I understand with what they're saying. I don't, with the way Carney says it, like, you know, we're no longer going to be, you know, dealing with the U.S. I don't know about that.
I don't think he's.
I don't kind of like that.
I don't think he said that. He's saying that our relationship is different. It's changed. Oh, that's not us. That's Trump. It's true.
It is true. It is true. But I don't like this constant word crisis. You're ramping people up to fear again.
Yep.
And Poilievre needs to up his speeches because it's becoming repetitive.
Yeah, well, that's
repetitive.
What they do. They repeat things over and over and over and over again for marketing purposes, right? Oops. That is how, oh, hang on. That is how you run an effective campaign, through repetition. They call it in advertising frequency.
Yeah, even if he would inject a few newer things, or maybe a little more powerful with his words, because you've got the other one on the other side going, oh, we're in a crisis, and then people are getting, oh my God, here we go, we're in a crisis again. What are we going to do?
Well, yeah, but you know, I'm going to pull this audio down a bit while these guys do their preliminary this, but it is a crisis because we have people losing their jobs. Our entire auto industry could be gone in short order. That's a crisis. Make no mistake.
Well, it is a crisis.
Yeah.
But
he's using it as an election tool. There's no question about that.
Yes, he is. But then you've got people that are like suffering with anxiety, which I've dealt with over the weekend. That's why I wasn't here. So you've got people in that mode, and they're like, they don't know where they're going. So you've got people like that who don't even will vote, but will maybe vote wrong. Rather, they'll vote out of fear rather than vote out of common sense.
Yeah. Well, they're both.
And I'm not saying vote for one for the other, but I'm saying they may vote wrong because of that.
All the campaigns are using fear to one degree or another.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the conservatives were using a ton of fear. Just look at the.
I missed out last night's show.
Negative campaigning. Honestly, like what is Poilievre and what are these streamers pushing? Like all these streamers that I'm seeing, they're all pushing the 51st state stuff. At one point or another, all the most prominent conservative streamers I'm seeing, they've all come out in favor of joining the United States. And then they say that they're patriotic. Poilievre is saying, you know, we'll never be the 51st state, but I see all these people endorsing him who are advocating for joining the US, or at least having Alberta leave Canada, separate. So now I'm scratching my head saying, really? So what are we really going to get? It seems very, I'm not buying it.
Well, Rick from Rimbey, John, Alberta, don't blame Alberta. Direct your gun barrel back to Quebec. It's been going on for 50 years.
Oh, here we go.
From the west and take the rest. I mean, look, direct your gun barrel back to Alberta.
This rhetoric that we've heard from Francois Blanchette saying that Canada is an artificial country. I said it yesterday. It ties right into this same rhetoric that we're hearing from Alberta. You've got the separatists in both provinces honestly colluding, working together, and it sickens me to no end because they have one thing that they do share in common. And on that front, they have aligned themselves, and that is to destroy Canada. None of these people are true patriots. They're traitors to the country, as far as I'm concerned. And Yves Francois included, and he should get on board and start supporting Canada and being part of Canada. And I'll say this too, John. Well, all these people out in Alberta who want more sovereignty for Alberta, I'll tell you this, you know what would be the best thing for Alberta is to actually give up a little bit of your sovereignty and power and jurisdictional powers as a province, so that we could do the same thing to Quebec, so that the federal government could have enough autonomy and authority to impose, frankly, a little bit of tough love on some of these provinces who are being, you know, selfish for the greater good of the entire country, and get your pipeline.
Absolutely.
If you want them built, then
totally on board with you there, sir.
So that Quebec is forced to give up some of theirs, as with all the other provinces, we all give up some of our jurisdictional power, our sovereignty provincially, so that we can do what's in the best interest of everybody for the whole country. And Alberta would be better off for it, frankly.
Yep. Fair ball, Rexter. You've always been fair.
There's something that I fear in a way, because, you know, I got other friends in Alberta, which I speak through Discord and other means sometimes. And look, one of my close friends from Alberta tells me sometimes, if Liberal wins, I just think, or I hope that Alberta becomes the 51st state, or he might just, you know, run toward the United States or some other places and start up his life in another country, basically. So I mean,
and that's true, Dragon. That's true. You're right on the money, bro.
and that's to me, I mean, it strike a lot of fear, because if this one person think this way, how many others from any whatever you are, liberal or conservative, NPD, whatever the politic house that you are you represent yourself into, I mean, anyone could have that same idea. If this party win, I want to go to this other side, or I want Quebec to be a part of the 51st state, kind of thing, right? I mean,
Well,
could
Dragon,
be,
it's 4.9 million people in Alberta think that way. What your friend said. So
that's it.
Dragon, you and I were talking about Lieutenant Steve Rogers, and John, you were talking about Lieutenant Steve Rogers with me the other day. And Dragon, you phoned Lieutenant Steve Rogers to invite him to appear on our program, right? Just as I did. How did that go for you?
Well, actually, I did leave him one message and recalled him back a few times, and never he called back, and gave him 2 numbers so he can follow me back, just to make sure that we can have a conversation if he want to. And yeah, I mean, no answers, no nothing.
Yeah, and this is a guy, Lieutenant Steve Rogers, if you're not familiar, he had this SOS campaign ongoing where he wants to come to Canada, and he's promising to, he's not going to leave us behind, and he has got to liberate us from communism. And we've invited him on the program a few times. He's been, in my view, meddling in Canadian politics for the past at least 3, maybe 4 years, maybe longer. He keeps posting on
I'd say longer.
Over and over and over again about all of this stuff. In fact, here he is again. He's sticking his nose into Canadian politics because he seems to be convinced that we're a communist country. And of course, these Americans who have this mindset believe that, they can't allow Canada to be a communist country. I'm going to show you his latest post, and then I'm going to run a little clip before the
like Rickster, Rimby, John. We want him on the show. We love him from Western Canada, Manitoba. We love him. Come on the show, bro.
So here he is.
It's a free platform.
He says, "Let us never forget our friends across our northern border." But what he's talking about really is liberating us, just as Tucker Carlson sort of was. But he also says Donald Trump is not joking about making Canada the 51st state. And guys, you won't be able to hear this, but I have called him a number of times as well. And this is my latest call. I hope this runs properly tonight. I'm not sure if the file is going to run properly, but here it is. I think I've got it here. Here we go.
You have reached 561-901-4600. I will return your call as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes, Lieutenant Rogers, Rick Walker at Maverick News in Canada, calling once again to give you another opportunity to appear on our program. I did leave a couple of other messages in case you did not receive those. I am calling once again. I have about 6 questions I would like to ask you, and people keep asking for you to appear on our program. Somebody asked just 2 nights ago again during our call-in program, and there is a high level of interest in having a conversation with you and having you on the program because of your posts regarding Canada as a 51st state and coming here to liberate us, possibly. I do have 6 questions, which I will email to you because at this point, it appears that you are really trying to avoid us and not answer questions. But given the level of interest you have in Canada and the way you've injected yourself into the conversation and our federal election, it could actually constitute foreign interference in our election. And with that in mind, I would like to ask you some questions because I'm not sure if what you're doing is even legal. That being said, you have my phone number, and I do hope that you will return my call. As I have said before, if you agree to appear on our program, I will ask you balanced, fair questions, and you will be treated always with respect, which is always the way that we operate here on Maverick News. Hope to hear from you soon.
No. 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 Go. Yeah. Yeah. Bullshit. Yeah. 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 Well, Rick, hang on, Isabel, Dragon. Rick, I have a special request. Isabel, have you been knighted, my dear, yet?
No, it's kind of hard to knight a woman, isn't it?
No, 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 no. I'm just thinking. Okay.
I'm good with that. No, I don't trust this guy. I never did. He's a blowhard, and he's only going to seek out other podcasters that align with him.
Well,
you know, of course. Oh.
Exactly.
What blows me away is with the things that are going on in the world right now, and Trump just like tramping through like it's mud to him with his big boots on. It's like, this has never been done before like this. And it's like you've got other countries trying to infiltrate and, say we are the boss and this is how it's going to be. Well, no, nobody gave you the right. And this kind of thing really, like one country leader interfering with everybody else. This really gets me. This is something I've never seen. And like I said before, politics wasn't my thing. But since 2020, it's been my thing because of what's gone on in this world and how it's being dealt with and how we're being treated as humans. And I'm just fed up with the whole damn thing.
I can give you more of a reason to dislike the guy for some reason. I think Rick could uncover what I gave him as a timeline not so long ago that I worked on, basically trying to find out what was going on in the U.S. while we had this, this pandemic going, right? And all between the 2020 to now, basically, and what was going on. And for example, if you go back to, I got to make sure that I'm not making any mistake into my dates. On January 26th, 2023, you had Tucker Carlson, who called for the U.S. to invade Canada, saying, and I quote, why don't we liberate Canada? We're spending all the money on liberating Ukraine from the Russia, and basically we could, armed force could liberate Canada from Trudeau, basically. So, and on the same date, or 2 days later, Mr. Lieutenant Stephen Roger has done actually another comment that was on the same vein about, liberating Canada. So, my question is, what is that all about, guys? Because if I would be able to ask these two a question, that would be the first one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Around the country, or after a 2-year period, a profound effect on giving a lot of the American people some strong public awareness as to what was going on in Canada. Because when the question would arise, well, maybe it's just a small group of citizens in Canada? No. Maybe it's just a few dozen? No. How about thousands? And we had the evidence. So those letters got into the hands of our lawmakers, United States Congress, United States Senate, state legislatures, got into the hands of a lot of Republicans, perhaps thousands now, across this country, so they could show them and hand them to people at their meetings. So that's why I said, just put SOS on there. And Shadow, the reason why I just wanted SOS and not a letter was that it spurred a question. What in the world does SOS mean? And boy, did that open up the doors. So it had a lot of effect. And here we are today. And look at the story with Canada has not ended. This is just the beginning, because you're now going to have a very strong ally south of you who will do what we can to help you get the word out, just like we got the word out and continue to get the word out in communist China and those countries that are not our allies, certainly our enemies. But you're not an enemy. In fact, you're one of us.
Yeah, well, we're pretty much the same. I would suggest, and there's a lot of people wringing their hands in the last few weeks, LT, up here in Canada, ever since President Trump started making noise about maybe making Canada the 51st state and calling Trudeau governor. Not that we care about Trudeau up here. We don't. I mean, he's on his way out. He's He says it's his intention to resign. He hasn't resigned yet, but he says it's his intention to do that. But people are kind of going, I think I have more in common if you live in Alberta with somebody from Montana or maybe North Dakota or even Washington State than I do with somebody who lives in Ontario or Quebec, right? So it's more of a vertical relationship as opposed to a horizontal relationship, north-south versus east-west, it seems like. Let me ask you, is Trump serious about this?
Well, I've got to tell you, I believe he is, and I could tell you the American people are serious about this. Now, there hasn't been much discussion in the media about this because we've been
Well,
I don't.
to me,
Go ahead, Dragon.
all right. Well, to me, it's blatant. It's a reference to what's going on. And I mean, if you listen carefully to what he's saying, or what he's not saying, well, he's basically laying out what the plan is. To take over Canada to a certain extent, or how to manipulate the people to get to that extent. Basically, by sending letters to the government of America and ask for their help to, liberate Canada from our tyrannical politic, if I can put it this way.
Definitely.
In addition to that, like I say, from time to time, I will be coming on the, social media platforms like Facebook, etc.
Yeah.
etc. But I'm very involved now with doing certain things with regard to our government and where we're headed. And I'm very happy that I'm in a position now to have a lot of influence on our national defense. So it's just a matter of time. We can't spread everywhere. But to know this, though, I haven't forgotten the Canadian people. No one in this country who has been working so hard for 2 years has forgotten you. Why? Because we don't want across our border communism. We don't want it here. So we're not going to let that happen. And you know why we're not going to let it happen? Because you're not going to let it happen. So we continue to have the conversation, support each other, pray for each other. And yeah, we'll be on the air from time to time. But the important thing is that you got a strong ally across the border. And we know we have a strong ally in the people across our border.
Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, thank you for joining the show tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and hopefully we don't have to wait 2 years to have you back, my friend.
Oh, no, you call me anytime, and God bless you all, and we'll see you. We'll see you again. And just remember, let freedom ring. Remember that channel? Let freedom ring.
Absolutely.
God bless you all.
Mm.
Yeah,
You know, I was
exactly. Why
listening
fear
to
if
this.
they're military tactics? You know, we're going to get you one way or another.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's what strengthened me. When you spoke about we don't want you to become communism or to indulge into communism, and you become
And homes for a change.
all right.
Who's voting for safe
I'm going to
streets
sign off
for a
because my phone's
change?
going to die. Have a good night, guys. I'll watch you on
And
the
who's voting
Rumble.
to bring
Bye-bye.
home Canada's promise for a change? Wow, quel excellent regroupement de nos citoyens ici dans la capitale nationale. On est ici pour un mot, c'est le changement. Un changement pour une vie abordable, une vie sécuritaire et un Canada qui est plus fort. Allons voter pour le changement demain. Wow, what an incredible crowd. It's great to be back here near our home in Greeley. There's so many familiar faces. Anybody here from Greeley? You know, this is the night before the election. How many of you voted already? And how many are going to drag out friends and neighbors to go and vote for change tomorrow? It reminds me of one election. It was very, very close, and it was the night before. And actually, no, it was the night of, sorry. And it was around 15 minutes before the polls were closed. And we were out knocking on the doors of our supporters, begging them to get out and cast their ballots. We got to the house of this very elderly woman. And I said, can we count on you to get out and vote? You've got 15 minutes left. She said, no. I said, why not? She said, we're too old. We can't get out anymore. I said, we'll drive you. She said, well, we can't even make it to the car. I said, well, we'll carry you. She said, I'm very sorry, but I'm gonna call it a night. She closed the door. So I walked out into the street and I said, you know, there's about 10 minutes left. There's no other person I'm going to be able to convince to get out to vote. I'm going to go give it another shot. So I went back to her door and I pleaded, and she said, oh, all right. And so we went in, we helped her husband down the stairs. We got to the door, and we were about to walk out. She said, do I need anything? I said, well, you need some ID. She said, well, my husband hasn't been driving for 10 years. He's got no ID. So she had to go and scrounge up a bill. And so we brought them out. We got them to the car. There wasn't room enough for the two of us volunteers to jump in with the driver. So we stayed behind where they tore off to the polling station to try and make it just before the polls closed. Sure enough, it started to rain. And where we were in the pouring rain, a few moments later, they came back. And I went to our volunteer driver and said, did you make it in time? He said, we made it 1 minute before. And they closed early. So I banged on the door and they opened it up and I said, you have to let them vote. So they went in and voted and they came back out and exercised their democratic right. And so we were helping them back into the house, and just as they were about to go in the door, I took the lady by the hand and I said, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you did. I know it wasn't easy. And she said, and who are you again? So I have no idea if she voted for me, but she voted for someone. The point of the story is get out and vote. Vote for change. Vote for a brighter future. Vote for your kids. Allons voter pour le changement. There is so much at stake in this election, my friends. This is the future of our country we're voting on. There are so many people across the country that have vested their hope in this campaign. People who feel like they're just hanging on by a thread. Families who believe they're on a treadmill that goes faster and faster. They run further and further, but they never actually move forward, and often they feel they're falling further and further behind. Young
Young Canadians who believe they'll never be able to afford a home. In Riverside South, there was a young man who called me and told me the story that his mother had the exact same job at the exact same office that he has. The difference is that she was able to buy a house in Ottawa when she was 28 years old. And now this gentleman is coming on to his 30s and he has no hope, so he's still living with his mom. He couldn't even imagine buying the same home that she was able to buy doing the same job. And we have countless people who feel no longer safe in their streets. They go to bed worried their car might not be there when they wake up in the morning. They worry about their kids. They've cut back on their diets. They're living paycheck to paycheck. The small business people that have no idea how they're going to make payroll in a few weeks because their tax bill, their gas bill, their heat bill keeps on rising. And the windows got smashed the other day. These are the stories that people tell us every day. But you know something? I have hope because we can turn this around. We have in our grasp, at our fingertips, the ability to choose change and chart a new and better course for our country. And that is the choice. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, we can't afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, and bring home the Canadian promise. C'est ça le choix. C'est ça le choix demain. On a un choix. Est-ce qu'on va payer le prix pour un quatrième mandat des libéraux après une décennie perdue, de coûts hors de contrôle, ou est-ce qu'on va prendre la décision pour faire changement avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper la bureaucratie, les taxes et les impôts, libérer la construction de logements et nos ressources pour que nous puissions être un pays sécuritaire et abordable. C'est ça le changement qu'on va choisir demain. But I know all of our candidates have been introduced already today, and I have some terrible news for them. Their summer vacation is canceled. We're going to be tomorrow. We're going to be kicking off 100 days of change, and it involves passing 3 sweeping change bills. It's going to be the Affordability for a Change Act, the Bring Home Our Jobs for a Change Act, the Safe Streets for a Change Act. And we will keep Parliament open all summer long until every single one of these bills is passed for a change. Change cannot wait. So the politicians are going to have to sell off their golf clubs on eBay or rent out their cottages because they're going to be busy on Parliament Hill working away to get the job done. The Affordability Act for a Change. We will cut $55 billion of waste by cutting consultants, streamlining bureaucracy, reducing foreign aid, and capping government spending so that we can afford our government again. Canada first. How do we like them apples? Nice. Show everybody. There you go. Great kid. Maybe I think she could be a future cabinet minister right here, eh? She's our Minister of Communication. How do you like them apples? We're going to reward work again. The hardworking people here in these communities deserve to keep more of their paycheck for a change, so Conservatives will cut income tax by 15%. We'll get rid of the electric vehicle mandate to save you money on your car and put you back in the driver's seat for a change. We're going to get rid of the capital gains tax when you reinvest your money here in Canada for a change. And then there's the carbon tax. It's still the law of the land. They hid the tax from the pumps for a few weeks right before the election, thinking that they would trick Canadians into re-electing them for a fourth term, at which point they can put the tax back on higher than ever when they no longer need your vote but still need your money. They want to raise that tax on steel, driving our industry south of the border. My friends, I am the only leader who has consistently opposed this carbon tax, and as Prime Minister, within the first 100 days, I will pass a law to axe the tax for everything, for real, for good, for a change. And our young people are going to have homes to live in again, to start families. You know, it was only 13 years ago, my wife bought her home in Orleans. What was it? What did you pay for that again? $230,000. 2012. How many bedrooms? 2 bedrooms. This was before me. I can't take any credit for this. She got this on her own. And you were young. You were basically, well, back then you were basically a teenager, I mean, right? She was 25 years old. She could buy a beautiful home in Orleans. And that's not with help from family, that's with the hard work that she did herself. That was the norm. In their 20s, young people used to be able to buy a nice place to live. And that meant that they could start their lives and build families and in wonderful places like Barrhaven and Greeley and Riverside South. But now, those homes are too expensive and many of our young people feel shut out. The biggest single expense that goes into a new home today is taxes and bureaucracy. A third goes to taxes, another roughly third goes to the delays, the permitting, the lawyers, the consultants. More money for a new home goes to bureaucracy, to bureaucrats, than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers that actually build the homes. This makes no sense, and we will lead the way to fix it. As part of our 100 days of action, Conservatives will axe the federal sales tax on new homes to save you up to $65,000 for a change. We'll incentivize our municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut their development charges as well to bring $100,000 of taxes off of the homes. We will sell off unused federal land and buildings for 300,000 future homes to be built. And we will incentivize cities to permit 15% more homes, all of which will allow us to build 2.3 million homes over the next 5 years so you can get a start for a change. And we want to bring home powerful paychecks to those homes. We're going to unleash our economy, $500 billion of extra economic growth by repealing the anti-energy and development laws, C-69, the energy cap. We're going to rapidly approve pipelines, mines, LNG plants, data centers, and much more to bring home our paychecks to Canada and become more economically independent so we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to anyone who gets in our way for a change. And we want those paychecks to come home to safe neighborhoods. So we will stop the crime for a change. Right across. Is there any crime in Ottawa these days? Is it worse than it used to be? Yeah. A lot worse. Out of control. He says some of it happens on Parliament Hill, he says. What's that? Well, there's a lot of crime going on right across the country. Violent crime up 50%. Gun crime up 116%. Extortion up 350%. My friends, this is the result of liberal catch-and-release hug-a-thug laws that turn the same repeat offenders loose again and again on our streets. C-75 requires the judges release the accused at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions, meaning that the same 40 offenders in Vancouver had to be arrested 6,000 times. That means once every 2 days, each of these guys was arrested. They basically have to be doing crime all day, every day, to get arrested every 2 days. It's insane. And then there's house arrest, C5. You can be a career car thief, having stolen 100 cars, and you get your sentence in your living room. watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. And then you just walk right out of the streets and do it all over again. They tell the police they're not even afraid of getting caught. They don't even bother trying to avoid capture. They leave the evidence everywhere because it's more hassle to dodge getting caught than it is just to go in and out of the revolving door. Well, my friends, as part of the 100 days of change, we will repeal C-75, catch and release. We will repeal house arrest. We'll repeal the Paul Bernardo get out of jail free card and make sure he stays in a max pen. We will pass the 3 strikes you're out law, 3 convictions, no more bail, no more parole, no more house arrest, no more probation. It will be jail, not bail, jail, not bail. Offenders will, if they want to ever get out of jail, will no longer have a statutory release. Those with multiple convictions will have to earn their way out of prison with perfect behavior, clean drug tests, and learning an employable skill to ensure that when they get out, they'll be contributing members of our society, not going on carrying on crime. That ends for a change. We're going to stand up for the law-abiding people right across the country. That means that we're going to secure our borders with 2,000 more border guards, more watchtowers along the frontier, scanners of shipping containers to intercept the drugs, guns, and stolen cars that come in and go out of our country. And we will pay for all of this by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab that targets law-abiding, trained and tested hunters and sport shooters. The hunters, the farmers, and Grandpa Joe, they're not the problems. Grandpa Joe and his hunting rifle are not what's shooting up our communities. It's illegal firearms. Speaking of our farmers, do we have any farmers here? Is Earl Stanley here? Earl Stanley? Earl's around here somewhere. Earl's from an old farming family. Earl's back there. He's busy. He's on his tractor right now? Right. You know, I think I came here when my early days in politics. I actually won the plowing match here. So this is a good omen that I'm back here again. I won the plowing match. I was briefly a farmer. I was outstanding in my field. And, but Earl, you're going to have to testify, in fact, that I won the plowing match. And that's a skill. You got to be able to plow in a straight line. Go from one end to the other and get to the end. That's what it means in politics. We need more of the common sense of the farmers, the small business owners, the single moms, the seniors. A little bit of that common sense for a change might make the government run a lot better. And we're going to make sure that we as a nation are safe and secure. That requires we rebuild the great Canadian Armed Forces, our military, our troops. We will be building 4 massive Canadian-made icebreakers to take back our icy waters and prevent the Russians and Chinese from incursions in our territory. Canada is going to protect its sovereignty. We're going to rely on no other nation for that. We are going to be a nation that protects itself. We'll have new landing runways in the north. We will fill all the vacancies in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. We will get those Poseidon aircraft up in the sky, surveilling the waters to look down and make sure there are no foreign submarines in our territories. And we will build, I should say, the first Arctic base in Canada since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. CFB Iqaluit will be a nerve center so that Canada can exercise its strength and propel and project power right throughout the Arctic territories and make sure that we are able to defend ourselves and protect our nation and the territory with which we have been so blessed as a nation. We will be honoring our history, and most of all, we will restore the faith of our veterans by giving them the treatment and the honor that they deserve. No more No more having to fight government departments for the benefits that you're owed. Thank you very much for your service to the country, sir. I see your beautiful medals there. Give it up for our veterans. We will expand helmets to hard hats so the young veterans can go on making money in the trades, earning powerful paychecks, working in civilian jobs. The older veterans will get automatic assistance for the disabilities that they incurred as a result, directly or indirectly, of their service. And never again will we allow the bureaucracy to express to a young veteran who's wounded and suffering that the best way out is medical assistance in dying. We want people to live with dignity. We want our veterans to understand that we appreciate them. In fact, they are the symbol of everything that is great about our country. We will have a government that is grateful, not only for the heroes of the present, but the heroes of the past. Those people who built this country. If we can see over the horizon, it's because we stand on the shoulders of giants. We will no longer be tearing down statues. We will be building new statues. We will fill our beautiful passport with all of the heroes of the past. Terry Fox, the famous five, the Canadian military. We will restore our freedom by repealing censorship laws so that you can speak your mind and express yourself. We will put Canadians back in charge of their lives. We will have a government that is servant rather than master. That's what Prime Minister means. The word minister actually has its root in the word servant. The Prime Minister is the first servant of the country. And his job. And I would be honored to serve each and every one of you. This is it, my friends. We're almost there. It's been quite a journey. You know, I launched my campaign for leadership of this party and to run for Prime Minister almost exactly 3 years ago to the day. And in that time, I've been to just over 180 of these rallies. Incredible. In just 3 years. It's been an incredible journey. We've had well over 100,000 people at those rallies, and up until the campaign, when things started moving really quick and I wasn't able to stop and spend the time, we had a hard rule that I would stand in line and greet one person after another, shake their hands, hear their stories, learn their concerns and their fears, but also hear about their hopes and their aspirations. And it's meant so much to me that you vested in me, your hope. It means a lot to know that people, I'm actually in awe, you know, that so many people have put their hope that I can deliver for their future, for their lives. It means the world to me. Thank you. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to know that no matter what happens tomorrow, I will be there to fight for you, for your quality of life, for your future, for your hopes and aspirations, to bring home the Canadian promise that this country made and kept to my wife, Anna, and I. We both come from very humble beginnings. It is only in this country that we could be standing at this place. That's what makes Canada so special. It is a place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where hard work gets you a great life in a safe neighborhood, in a beautiful, affordable house under a proud flag. And so I leave with a message of hope to that small businessman who's grinding away, wondering whether he's going to make it through another month. Have hope. Change is on the way. To the single mother whose fridge is empty, whose bank account is empty, whose stomach is empty, and worried that she might not be able to feed her kids tomorrow. Have hope. Change is on the way for you too. to the seniors who still have their adult children living in the basement and want them to have a house so that there can be grandkids and a brighter future. Have hope. Change is on the way for you too. For all of the people who no longer recognize the country but are anxious to bring home the nation that we knew and still love, have hope. Change is on the way. Ayons de l'espoir. Il va y avoir un vrai changement pour un bel avenir. La promesse du Canada que chacun qui travaille fort peut avoir une belle vie dans une belle maison abordable sur une rue sécuritaire. That is the promise of Canada. It is my life's work to restore and uphold that promise for you and for all Canadians. Tomorrow is the day. Vote for the Canadian promise. Vote for change. Let's bring it home.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, well,
you know what? I apologize. No audio, so I'll say this again. He is home, and I apologize for no audio earlier in the broadcast. It's just a lot of buttons to push, so I made an error. But there he is, Dragon. He is actually home because he's in his home riding, and that's where he's wrapping up his campaign. Some speculation that he did this last stop in his home riding because he's in danger of losing his home riding. I don't know if those reports or those polls are accurate. Judging from the size of the crowd, that's a little bit hard for me to believe, but that's what the reports have been over the past few days. Pierre Poilievre actually struggling and in danger of losing in his own very own riding, might not retain his seat. Do you believe it?
Well, I don't believe it. Sorry. I don't believe that Poilievre might lose his reading, I think, from my own perspective, but that's just my opinion. For the fact that actually I don't have all the numbers, but, you know, when I look at what's going on chats, wherever I will look at or speak with people around me and stuff, most people are a lot of people, and most people are just, you know, alleging to go toward the conservative. So I mean, it's kind of hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. But my prediction, if you want my prediction,
I do. Give me your
tomorrow,
prediction.
I think that we might see a change into our political landscape, and we're going to see a blue wave tomorrow from the conservative winning pretty much everywhere. So I don't know if it's going to happen into his reading. I hope for him. But yeah, we'll see tomorrow. But I think that conservative have all the chance to win tomorrow.
So you think we're gonna do? What are you thinking? Like a conservative majority government or
I
a
believe so.
minority government?
Could be a majority. I think that it might be close, actually, from probably a minority. It could be also a minority. But yeah, I think that my prediction would go to a majority of conservative tomorrow.
So you're
But
pretty
we'll see.
confident in a conservative victory, huh? Yeah, I think it's
Well,
you know I don't know. I think the polls are largely unreliable this time because we've seen such chaotic swings in the polls. You know, massive swings, unprecedented change. You know, 25, 30 points from the beginning of this election, and conservatives falling behind and then making up for lost ground. Now, where do we stand? I
well,
can't tell.
you know, I don't look at most of the polls because, you know, I don't trust them to a certain extent. I will look at them, but I mean, I'm not, you know, paying attention to the point where I'm going to focus on that. Actually, I focus mostly on what I get from the people that I know, that I speak every day with, or that people that I meet that have conversation with me, and everyone that I know, and for most part, I would say 90% of the people that I speak with are all aligning themselves with the conservative. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow to see the conservative winning for that reason.
Yeah, the thing about relying on anecdotal information like that, or like just speaking to people, is that Canada is such a large country, so different from region to region, and you have the the distribution of seats more concentrated in Ontario and Quebec because we have such so many more people living in Quebec and Ontario. Alberta, you have only about 5 million people in total across the entire province. So, of course, fewer seats to be had. So, if you win sort of the greater Toronto area and you do well in Quebec, you can win the whole election basically right there, which is a sore point for people in some other parts of the country, in particular Alberta. But that's sort of the reality. So, when I look at the polls, just as an aggregate, because that's what the 338 poll is, for instance, which is actually not responding on their server tonight, maybe because there's so much traffic on it. I'm trying to bring up their latest stats. They take all the polls, sort of aggregate them, put them all together, come up with an average, and we've seen tightening of the race with the Conservatives making up lost ground. And last I checked, they were within 3 points. Some people saying, according to some polls tonight, the Conservatives have actually taken the lead. I don't know. I think, in the polling, it appears to be close. But if you break it down by region, where the Conservatives are going to do well is more in Western Canada, and the Liberals will do better in the East, in Quebec, in Ontario. I think it'll be decided in Ontario ultimately.
Yeah.
And so
Could be.
I don't know.
And I know some people that would have vote for the Bloc Québécois if they were into the right writing. But the thing is that it could be tomorrow really, really close call between each party tomorrow. So, I mean, whoever you have voted for, I will just cross my finger and hope for the best.
So here's an Abacus poll. I'll bring this up and share it with you. This is their final poll of the election tonight. There it is right there. This isn't the 338 that we normally look at, but tomorrow's election day in Canada. Months ago, it says here, according to Abacus data, the outcome looked fairly certain, a Conservative victory. But today, as we release our final poll of the campaign, it looks like the Liberals are now the favorites to pull off a fourth straight victory under Mark Carney. After 40 turbulent days, Canada's 45th general election comes down to one simple question. Will voters choose the reassurance of Mark Carney's steady-as-she-goes Liberal reset, or the Pierre Poilievre promises after a decade of Liberal rule? What began in January as a lock for the Conservatives was upended by Justin Trudeau's resignation, Carney's lightning-fast coronation, and Donald Trump's return to the White House with threats of annexation and trade war. Suddenly, change versus continuity became stability versus disruption, and the ballot box psychology flipped from scarcity-driven anger to precarity-tinged caution. Since February, our team has interviewed more than 15,000 Canadians, probing not just one vote intent, but the emotions beneath it. We built a precarity index, ran nightly regressions, flash-polled the debates, and mapped how trust, competence, and fear intersect. Each wave has pointed to the same tension. A majority still longs for change, yet a plurality doubts that the riskier option will deliver it. Today, we release our final poll, 2,500 interviews conducted April 24th to 27th, the largest sample of the campaign, using the likely voter model that nailed Nova Scotia in 2024 and Ontario just a few months ago. It offers the clearest picture yet of where Canada stands on the eve of Decision Day and why. So let's take a look at this, shall we, Dragon?
Sure.
The context. Canadians approach tomorrow's vote with a pervasive sense of unease. Only 31% say the country is headed in the right direction, while 51% believe we're on the wrong track. Sentiment about the wider world is even darker. 14% right direction, 73% wrong. And there's the graph indicating all that, if you can make sense of it. And over the campaign, however, both main parties have sustained unusually wide paths to victory. That's what I was talking about, these wide swings. The liberal accessible universe has climbed from the mid-40s in January to 53% today, although lower than its peak mid-campaign at 57%, edging out the Conservatives at 50% after the Tory pool slid back a few points from its early January high of roughly 55%. Accessible Conservative and Liberal universes since 2015. Mm-hmm. And the issues, pocketbook pain still rules the ballot box. You're talking about the economy, right? So dealing with Donald Trump and the impact of his decisions follows at 30%, while housing 20%, economic growth 19%. These are what are the issues that most concern people. And it's economic issues, Trump, inflation, most important factors when deciding vote, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Party best able to handle, and then these other issues. Ballot questions. Yeah, Trump versus change. At the end of March, 54% of Canadians said managing Trump would steer their vote versus 46% who cared more about a change in direction. 4 weekly waves later, the lines crossed decisively. 56% now center their choice on change, just 44% on Trump. As the campaign ends, 53% say the vote is more about change, which is more, I'd say, favoring the Conservative campaign, compared with 47% who say it's more about Trump. Region and generation shape that split. Prairie and Alberta voters are the most change hungry, obviously. 63% in Alberta, 58% in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, while Quebec remains the lone region where a slim majority, 57%, still prioritizes Trump. That's interesting. Younger Canadians tilt heavily to change, 57% among 18 to 29 age group, but boomers lean toward Trump, 56%. Partisanship locks in the frame. 75% of Conservative supporters view the election through a change lens, whereas 68% of Liberals see it through a Trump lens. Let's just scroll down and cut to the chase, shall we? Find out where we're at in the final analysis here. Oh, this is interesting, though. Carney leads Poilievre by 5 to 12 points in finding common ground, standing up to a bully and captaining a ship through a rough storm. Poilievre edges ahead. This is like Carney versus Poilievre, who's the best leader, basically. And it looks like Canadians overall seem to, according to this poll, favor Carney a little bit over Poilievre. Expected election result. The Liberals will win easily. 14. This is asking people who do they think is actually going to win. Scroll down. Where are we at here? Okay, final popular vote estimate. Liberal, 41%. Conservative, 39%. NDP, 10%. Bloc Québécois, 6%. People's Party, back up to 3%. So they've gained ground, doubled what they had at about 1.5, but still not nearly enough to really secure much, I don't think. The Green Party, 1%. Others, 0%. So the PPC actually overtaking the Green Party in this poll anyway. So the interesting thing to watch there will be to see if the PPC can actually get someone elected this time around. I'm not sure what the polling is saying about PPC leader Maxime Bernier and his riding at Beauce. And what do you think, Dragon? Are you buying this poll?
Well, it's hard to tell because to a certain extent, it does reflect maybe what I see around me. And even from people that doesn't look at polls, some of the reflection of the most important impact that we need to have or what is the best outcome is probably what is look like what people thinks around me. But does that reflect how the people will gonna vote tomorrow or not? It's hard to tell. Actually, you know what? I would say that probably will be fixed tomorrow when we're gonna see how the numbers come out after the vote. We'll see how that goes, but I wouldn't probably put my money on that one too.
If anybody wants to call and join the conversation, the number is 1-647-734-4220. Just punch in that PIN number, which is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. When prompted, when the system picks up the line, 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign or the hashtag number thingy. And again, the number 1-647-734-4220. Dragon, let's take a little break here. I'm going to run the little promo with the phone number so people will know how to call if they so choose to join the conversation tonight. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, we're back. And again, 1-647-734-4220 to join the conversation if you would like to do that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I think it really comes down. I think it is closer than people realize. I'm seeing large crowds on both sides. The Poilievre rallies seem to be larger overall, just my sense, than the Liberal rallies. But it still comes down to the distribution of seats and then what parts of the country these parties are stronger in. So it really comes down to this. If the Conservatives and Poilievre can do well in Ontario, they can win. But if they don't do really well in Ontario, I think they're going to have trouble, because I think it's a foregone conclusion that they'll do, obviously, they'll probably take all of Alberta. I'll be surprised if maybe minus one or two ridings, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a complete blue wave across Alberta and even Saskatchewan, Manitoba. I don't know. Alberta, yeah, definitely you're going to see a Conservative wave. BC, that goes more left, so it's going to be a mixed bag out there. NDP, maybe be able to pull off a couple of seats out there. Then you get into Quebec, you're getting into more Liberal territory. You'll see, a strong Liberal turnout in the Maritimes, on the East Coast, up in the North. I think you'll see Liberals there. So, Conservatives have to do well in Ontario. They just have to, or they're going to struggle. And so that's why I think overall, when all the votes are counted and it comes down to who wins where, it's about who wins where, not just the popular aggregated vote that you're seeing here. And if the Liberals are out by 3-4%, that's going to translate into a disproportionate number of seats based versus just the overall popular vote aggregated across the country. Are you getting what I'm laying down?
Yep. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get where you're going. And actually, you know what? I would even say that Quebec is going to be probably chaotic and probably mostly. I'm going probably to go with a educated guess here, but if you go from Montreal, it's gonna be chaotic
Yeah.
because you're gonna have basically a fight between the Bloc Québécois, liberals, and also the conservatives. Because I think we still are kind of divided between which one is going to be voted for, depend on the household that you have.
Yeah.
So that's another surprising thing that we got to look at. But again, I mean, that's just my nose telling me, or my instinct telling me what it's going to look like tomorrow. So we'll see.
Who's on the line? Somebody just joined us.
Happy Sunday, Sir Rick.
Hello, Sandy. How are you tonight?
Oh, Cindy.
Hey, Dragon, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Awesome.
Good.
So, you know what I'd like to see in Parliament?
Lay it on us, Sandy.
Sorry, I'm kind of off topic here.
Okay. What would you like to see in Parliament?
A Madam Speaker.
A Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Okay. Are you a feminist,
speaks
Sandy?
French?
Are you a feminist?
Am I? Oh, you know what? That's a good question. Well, maybe I am.
And what you gonna do about it? Nothing.
What am I going to do
No,
about it?
what am I gonna do about it?
I'm going to vote
Nothing.
for Madam Speaker. That's what I'm going to do about it.
Okay. Why do you want to see a Madam Speaker instead of a Mr.
Because I really hope she speaks fluent French.
Uh-huh.
She speaks fluent English. Okay? And she kicks ass.
Okay. Well, the speaker is just there to maintain decorum and make sure that all the rules are followed. That's what the speaker
Yeah,
of the
but
House
there's
does.
sometimes they're like little children, right?
That is true. So they need to keep them in line.
Oh.
Yes, and give them some tough love from the speaker's
It's
chair.
a little bit of tough love going on, Rick. You got it, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Or rough
You
love.
got
maybe.
it.
Yeah. Well,
What do you think's going to happen tomorrow?
what do I think? You know,
Yeah.
Sandy, I don't know. I really don't this time. It's
I know. I see a lot of crayons on your screen.
I often I would predict things. I'm usually pretty good at predicting, but this has been so unpredictable.
sketchy,
It's been so
isn't it?
strange. The whole thing has been the most unusual. And Dragon used the word chaotic, and that pretty much characterizes. You've got all these different
Okay,
factors.
so
Even
Dragon uses chaotic.
You know.
My word is sketchy.
sketchy is a good word too, because there's been a lot of sketchy stuff going on. You know, we talked about a lot of that even last night, right? The Trump influence, the foreign interference, a lot of it in, obviously that I've laid out. Never have we had this level of foreign influence from the United States in a Canadian election, not to mention the other foreign influence we're getting from other countries, Iran, China, Russia, and on and on. Here's somebody else
Well, not only
joining the
that,
conversation tonight. Who's joining us on the line now?
there's
Go ahead, new
a lot
caller. Who's
going
that?
on, my friend.
Yeah, who's on the line with us? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello, who's that?
Oh, hang on a sec. Way
Oh.
behind
Oh,
here.
it's John.
John.
How you doing?
Other
Everybody's-
John.
All is well here,
Yeah.
Sir John. How are you tonight, my friend?
It's
Oh,
other
you're gonna have-
John. Long time no hear.
You're gonna have to take down your liberal flag off your car tomorrow, Rick.
I don't
Just
have
kidding.
anybody's flag on my card, John.
I'm kidding.
Nobody's flag. I'm not endorsing any of these guys. But anyway, go ahead. What do you think's going on here, John?
Well, I used to get like a last election, many with Rob Ford. I used to get a lot of phone calls and I used to, those questions,
Yeah, you
polls.
mean the former mayor of Toronto or his brother Doug Ford?
Yeah, Rob Ford.
Rob Ford, the mayor,
Ford.
No,
mayor
Rob
of
Ford.
Toronto.
I
Yeah.
remember Rob Ford.
Yeah.
And
I
ever
remember
since,
him.
I still getting them like once a month, 2 times a month. I just hang up. Nobody wants to give their opinion anymore on the phone. So
yeah,
polls are for strippers. Put it that way.
Okay, that's a pretty way to put it.
They don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
What tomorrow you'll find out who's going to win, and I believe most people want change. So
yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah,
we need it.
I
We
don't
need
know.
change. We need a better change.
It seems like I get the sense that these Poilievre rallies are big, but I can't tell if they're really big or if they're creating the impression of them being bigger than they are through the presentation online. They're big, but I can't really figure out how big. So how big is this blue wave?
They're big. They're big.
Yeah.
I've been watching all the rallies, and there's a lot of people everywhere he goes. There's a lot of people, and he talks to the people after. You never see Carney talking to anybody after his rallies. He's out of there, and I'm hearing he's going to leave Canada when he if he loses.
I'm applauding John. I'm applauding you, John.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. I don't think he's our savior, but he's better than what's in there right now. That's all I can. He's going to do better. Right now, the Liberals, they got all the climate change activists in their pockets, and all the globalists. They don't. The elites. They don't want the Liberals, because Poilievre is going to be better for them than the Liberals, right? So, the unions.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think PF is going to win it?
I think so. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think he's going to win it. Yes.
Well, historically, I think that's probably on cue. While Trudeau was past his best before date, you've got, basically a decade of Liberals in power, and, people get tired. They do want change after that amount of time. Does Carney represent enough of a change?
I'll ask Dragon the same question.
I'm not so sure.
I see a massive following for change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's massive. The only people voting Liberal, I told you, is the unions, and I'm hearing a lot of the unions are telling their workers to vote Liberal, and they're not voting Liberal.
I don't think the unions have as much sway with their membership as they used to. Not really.
And the climate activists, they're look where he comes from. He's one of the big shots for WEF. Who wants to vote someone like that?
But they're trying. Climate change is trying. They're trying very hard.
Yeah, they're trying. Yeah. Another thing I'm hearing is it might be rigged if he wins. If Liberal win, could be rigged.
I'm so
I don't know
that shit. Quite frankly,
Yeah,
John,
me too.
I'm so sick of
Liberal.
that. These bloody excuses. This is the go-to thing for these people on the conservative side all the time. It's like, if you lose, it's rigged. If you win, oh well, that's legit. And I get it sometimes on the left too. I'm tired of it all the way around. And it's dangerous. These people who keep saying this stuff need to shut their yaps. And
so
just
you don't
put
think
up with,
China or
put up
India
with
is
doing.
interfering in our election?
You don't think that Donald Trump isn't interfering in our election?
That's another person. You
No.
don't think they're interfering in our elections?
Yeah, we've got a lot of foreign interference, and 90% of it is coming from the United States, dude. So yeah, we've got a lot.
Don't even
But
go.
the bottom line is, regardless of all of that, at the end of the day, we have to accept the outcome. And I'll tell you this, a lot of these people keep going Dominion voting machines and, it's all rigged and blah, blah, blah. We don't use Dominion voting machines. It's all paper ballots. It's, our elections are really conducted in very much the manner in which all the people in the States are clamoring for. They're saying, we need to change it and make it this way and that way, and paper ballots and, voter ID and blah, blah, blah. Basically, we have that in Canada. There is, there's some issues that need to be resolved, but not on a large scale like you have in the US. You don't get the gerrymandering up here the way you do in the US. So, I believe the results of our elections. I worked a couple elections back for Elections Canada as a poll supervisor, a big poll here, right? And I know exactly how it's done because I took the course. I went through the whole thing. It was my responsibility to manage the whole operation there during the election. So I know how it works, and it's fair. So anybody that says this thing is rigged, you can stick it. Now the only thing is, it's just the election itself, the mechanics behind it, it's fair, it's regulated, it's monitored. You have scrutineers that are allowed to come in from all the parties if they choose to send them on election day to keep everybody honest. The foreign influence, though, through the propaganda, through the social media psyops, all of that stuff, that is a major concern for me. But then at the same time, the people, upset about saying that it's all rigged, they're the first ones to say, we got to have free speech. You can't have any restrictions on what goes on online. Well, then shut the hell up. At the end of it, man, if you don't like the outcome and then you're going to say that it was rigged, well, that's how you basically rig it today, is with information warfare. And that's what is largely going on here. And then who's doing the most rigging, John? It's all the people on the conservative side. It's all these live streamers. I showed you another one tonight. I think you've acknowledged yourself that the guy I talked about tonight, his methodology leaves a lot to be desired. I think you said, I don't know if he's a very good researcher, I think is what you said to me the other day. It goes beyond bad research. It's intentional misdirection. It's fabrication. It's throwing out a bunch of numbers just to confuse people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would I vote with that? It's the party actually supporting that guy, or is he doing
the election is honest as the CBC, right? They're as honest as the CBC.
There's that, yeah. So,
at the same time, John, you know what? We are even domestic interferencer, because the way that, for example, the way that you buy onto those messages, and when you say, for example, that it is rigged or that your vote doesn't count, well, people like tomorrow that didn't even voted yet into the voting moment that we had last week, tomorrow when they will probably stay home instead of going to vote, thinking that even though I do put my vote, it's not gonna do a thing. Well,
I know a lot of people who are not voting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, if people think like that, things aren't going to go in any good direction. So I mean, and people needs to know this, and I think we need to probably put that as a note for everyone, that when you don't cancel your vote and that you don't vote, is your vote or your name is going to be directly to the ballot on the liberal side, because basically it's you saying to the politics that you are okay with the way that the liberal is dealing with the stuff. So basically you're voting by interim for a liberal. So if you want change tomorrow, take your pants and go vote, guys, please.
Yeah,
exactly, Dragon. Exactly.
I think.
You know what?
The winning horse tomorrow, when the election gets revealed around 9 o'clock, the winning horse is going to lose the election. So I think the Liberals are going to take the lead, and then they're going to fade away.
You think so? Because
Yeah.
it goes like east to west, and there you get the most seats in Quebec,
In the
Ontario.
Liberals, yeah, in the
Usually,
east.
you find out who won the election very early in Canada because of the distribution of seats, and so by the time within an hour or two, usually we have results, or if unless it's really really close. So you think they're going to fade? I would think that whoever kind of comes out strong in the beginning is going to hold. And if you're doing well in Quebec, then
I think the opposite.
yeah, well, it could be. It's a very unusual
You know
election.
what I heard, Rick?
Yeah.
I heard this once. I heard this just a while ago. It takes one vote.
Well, we all get one of those, and
Right? It takes one vote.
takes-
That would be a great name for a horse.
there you
One vote.
One vote. But it's all, according to John,
And
it's
he
all
would
rigged, and
win.
he wins. He wins all the time when he bets on sports. So
I didn't say it was rigged, Rick.
No,
I'm
I mean,
just saying
you're saying that sport. All you said before everything's rigged, and
There's
then
foreign
and then you're
interference. Who
probably
knows?
right because every time you bet on sports, you come out ahead, man. I don't know how you do it, frankly. You're like a wizard when it comes to all that stuff. Here's the thing with
John,
this.
you're pretty smart. You're
Here's
a
the
pretty smart man.
I want
John.
your opinion on this. This guy, Mr. Sunshine Baby, is giving away cars outside Pierre Poilievre rallies. This is also
Maybe
very
it's Elon Musk.
unusual in terms of Canadian
Sunshine
elections.
Baby is Elon
Listen to this.
Take another one, but I can't even afford to buy a second-hand car now.
Okay. Well, why don't you go sit there?
Yeah.
Talk to my friend.
Elon
give him
Musk.
your information, and we'll get you a car.
I'm gonna cry. No.
You raised $3,500 for her. I don't know what kind of car she's going to buy for $3,500 in Vancouver, but
Oh my God.
that's Dan Pam. You know Dan Pam,
Pam, really?
Yeah.
Give her info to her. Yeah. And we'll get you set up. Okay? And we'll get you a car.
What about the pea shooters? I don't have to market them. I'll wait until the plastic straws come back, and then I'll market
There you
them
go.
to those chicken dancers. All right, guys, take care. Lovely meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Mwah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
I gotta
That's
say,
Dan
it's
Pam.
freaking unusual. No, I don't pay for interviews, and I certainly don't go to rallies, political rallies, and sit outside and do fundraisers or buy people cars.
Wow.
Ethically, I don't pay for interviews. We did long discussions in journalism school about doing things like that. John, guys.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you think? Is this ethical? This is a pro-conservative live streamer sitting outside a Pierre Poilievre event, live streaming, and then he just said, "Go over there. We're gonna get you." This damn Pam used to call into the show quite
Dan
often,
Pam.
and saying she can't afford to get a used car, so he buys her a car. What are your thoughts on
She
that?
can't afford to call Rick either.
It's just, I'm very uncomfortable with it. Gotta say.
I got two questions. First one, is the money has been, or did he made all that money by selling his product first? Second,
No, as I looked at it,
Fundraiser,
Dragon,
fundraiser.
it was John says it's a fundraiser, right? So they initiated a fundraiser, but then the question is, where's that money flowing into the fundraiser actually coming from? Where's all this money coming from? I'm seeing a lot of these streamers, there's no transparency on money flowing through these. you're talking about foreign interference. We're talking about ethics. We're talking about rigging elections. We're talking about new form media, social media. We're talking about the flow of big money, cash, marketing companies.
Everything's rigged today, Rick.
Yeah, well, there you go, John.
Everything. Sports is rigged. Elections are rigged. Everything is rigged today. Tell me something that's not rigged.
Yeah, well,
I got a solution for you. I got a solution for you. Yeah. We are, how many people we are in Canada? Something like 40 million, if I'm not mistaken. Look, we all go out to vote, and you make sure.
Not everybody votes.
No, look, just hear me out. If everyone go vote, I think that 40 million is pretty much a hard number to rig, if you know what I mean. So if people goes to vote, they are going to be part of the solution.
Yeah, but rigging, Dragon, doesn't involve just like putting in fake ballots or something like that, or
no.
Intercepting ballot boxes and burning the ballots to rig it. No, it's not like that. It's about information warfare. It's about controlling people's minds. It's having is it fair? I'm pretty sure it's illegal for a candidate to sit outside or have. Is it okay for Poilievre to go around if Poilievre was buying people cars, or is it? Is it if CBC was sitting
that's illegal.
If
that's
CBC
illegal.
sat outside a Liberal rally and started buying people cars, is that okay?
No, I don't think so.
And so,
well, you had that girl on your show who was homeless, and you were raising money for her.
Which girl?
What's the difference?
What homeless girl?
The one in BC that lost her trailer.
Oh,
did I raise money for somebody?
Gina, yeah, and you were trying to raise money for her, and then you were trying to raise money for that other girl in the States.
What girl?
Whose house got blown away from a tornado.
Oh well, that was an issue, John. That was an issue.
Well, it's an issue with her too. She's got no car.
Well, I don't even really. I didn't really approve those things.
Well, you did approve it because you were doing the fundraiser on your show.
Well, yeah, but I wasn't trying to sway somebody politically, and I wasn't sitting outside a political rally in the middle of an election. There was no election on. I wasn't sitting outside a rally or a polling station saying, "Hey, welcome to the Pierre Poilievre rally." And
Gina was
never
homeless.
endorsed a candidate in this on this program. I'm not endorsing a candidate now. I didn't endorse a candidate then. And if you want to talk about
what do you mean you're not endorsing a candidate? So you're not voting tomorrow?
I don't even know who I'm going to vote for tomorrow.
Are you voting tomorrow, Rick?
And if I vote, I'm not telling you who I'm voting for. What's that?
Are you going to vote tomorrow?
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
Or you're one of those people that don't want to vote, who think the government's all corrupt?
No, I didn't say that either.
Well, then you know who you're voting for.
No, I don't know. Actually, as I say,
I'm voting.
I don't believe you anyhow.
Well, you don't have to believe me.
I don't believe you. But you used to work for CTV, so they're all liberals. So
no, that's not true. That's not true at all.
I see you.
Oh,
I'm not kidding.
You're very wrong about what you're saying with my time at CTV, and I can explain why. You want me to tell you why? Okay, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because when I worked at CTV, when I first started there, CTV was a network made up of independent television stations, all privately owned by companies there was like Bayton Broadcasting, which was owned by the Bassett family. There were a bunch of others. I worked for CKCO out of Kitchener, which was owned by the Pollock family, which owned Electra Home, which was actually started by Dealcraft Furniture in Canada. They started making these, it was a furniture company, and then they started to make radios and television sets to go into their furniture to make those console TVs. Anyway, Electra Home owned two of the radio stations in Kitchener, and the television station, and they became part of this network in Canada of independent broadcasters that made up CTV. So I came in at a time when these companies, a lot of them, most of them, were owned by pretty conservative leaning families and companies. A lot of them, like the Bassett family, very conservative. So there were a lot of conservatives, even like Kitchener. The leanings in the newsroom there were actually quite conservative. I came in my view, and historically you could see that. Now, over time, the ownership of the company changed somewhat, but the majority of the time I was there was the Pollock family that owned it, and then later in the tail end of my career, it was absorbed or bought up by. There was a time when it was part of Chum, and then, or actually, sorry, that's not quite accurate because I went to work for Chum later, but it eventually got swallowed up by Bell Media, which now is this huge corporate thing that owns like probably half of all the media properties, private media properties in the country. But when I started there, it was Electra Home that owned that station as part of CTV. And so then when I did anything for the network, it was because I, as a local I was a regional reporter working mainly in bureaus. I would then contribute to the network at the network level. If I had a story that they wanted nationally, on a rare occasion, I would do something for the network. I left CTV and went to work for Chum when they bought up the station in London, which was CFPL in London. And I would say that the Blackburn family, which owned those stations privately, and there were some links to the CBC, but even the Blackburn family, I would say, was pretty conservative, and that the coverage there was, I would say, conservative leaning through most of the time I was there. Certainly the Bassett family was definitely conservative, and the politics of the Bassett family conservative. So no, you're quite wrong about that and that assessment. Not true at all. And the whole time I was working at CTV, because we were the privately owned network, there was actually a lot of competition between what I would do and what CBC would do. We were way more conservative than CBC. I was always way more conservative, I would say, in my coverage, although I always tried to be very balanced, not pro-conservative, not pro-liberal. I always try to be very fair and balanced. I would put everybody on, and I would try to keep my opinion out
That's
of it
the right
as
thing
much
to
as
do.
possible. But yeah, absolutely not liberal in that sense at all, sir. Not at all. And we have a new caller on the line. Who is on the line with us?
Peekaboo, it's Isabel again.
You're back.
Hey, Isabel.
You triggered. Hey, Sandy, John, Dragon. You triggered my memory.
Yeah.
And this is off topic, but I just have a small question. Because you were in media, there was a channel in Timmins, Ontario. It was called CFCL.
Timmins, I know Timmins. Yeah.
Did they make what do you call them, copies back in the day of shows? The show I was thinking of was Don Messer's Jubilee.
Okay. Did they make copies? What do you mean copies?
Yeah, like microfilm. Did they keep anything on microfilm?
Television doesn't go on microfilm. That's like that's.
What would they keep it on? Tape?
Yeah, there was like even back in those days you had it could be 1-inch videotape, a 3/4 beta, or 3/4 U-matic videotape.
Okay.
Depends. Why?
Because the question is, I've been trying to find old film of my father who sang on CFCL with Don Messer at one time. Well, he was on there a couple of times, but I was trying to figure out where would I look for a copy of that.
Probably gone. I think CFCL is gone. I think that I don't think that station is on the air anymore. Probably
in the dumpster. They throw everything in the dumpster.
Yeah, Isabel.
Isabel,
that's
you
not,
can try
that's not untrue. I can tell you that every once in a while at the stations where I work, I remember one day I walked in and they had huge stacks of boxes of videotapes in the hallway, and they were just chucking them all. all this
Yeah.
old footage, because it was like you can't store it all, and the
No,
back
you
then
can't.
not digital, it's all analog, so massive amounts of old videotapes, and they would
Right.
just go into the dumpster.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a tip. I'll give
Yeah,
you a
'cause
tip,
my-
Isabel. WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks, yeah.
WikiLeaks. You got him.
Really, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
She
WikiLeaks
got a lead
everything.
for
Type
you.
your name in, and you would probably find your dad.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
She got a lead
The way
for you.
Even from my automotive show, when I started doing that years ago, I was submitting everything on Betacam SP professional videotape, and I just went through
I love it.
here in my home studio, and I had stacks and stacks of these, like boxes of these tapes, and I just chucked all those too, because it's like I did. What am I going to do with all these things? I digitized a lot of it anyway, but those tapes are gone.
Do your homework, Isabel.
do my homework. Too old, Sandy, to do homework.
And actually, I had one Betacam deck that I bought on eBay years ago, a professional broadcast. I just sold that 2 weeks ago to somebody, and because there's still people out there looking for that stuff, because I guess there are people still transferring some of those old professional tapes, just like you're asking about. I don't know, Isabel, just call up the station. I don't know what happened to all the assets from that station, which was
Yeah.
a CBC affiliate.
Yeah, just curious. I mean, this was like way down. I mean, that was in the 50s, like 58, 59, you know, so back in the good
Go
old
for it.
days, Rick.
Yeah.
Go for it, Isabel.
The good old days. I love the good old days, man. I could grow up being a tomboy and hanging from the tree. I didn't have to identify.
Yeah.
Those were great days.
Yeah, see,
Those were-
and that there right there, John, what Isabel is talking about is MCTV, which was like Mid Canada Television. That was part of CTV up in those areas, and those stations would kind of switch hands over time a little bit
Yeah.
from CBC to CTV. Always difficult to keep them operating, because even back then, very difficult to fund them, to get enough advertising revenue to support people. And then I hear all these people saying, defund the media. Well, okay, then you're not going to have any, because even back then it was just very difficult to fund any of it. So
I mean, in the one we had in Timmins, it was this little block building with an antenna on it.
yeah, that's the way it was. That's
You
the way
know?
it is.
Aww.
Yep.
And
Yep. Out behind the wild blueberry bush.
yeah, and if you're trying to, if
Aw.
you're trying to get stuff out on social media at a local level, there isn't enough of an audience generally online and enough advertising revenue. Like if you're going to rely on YouTube revenue to run like a local newscast or something, dream on.
Yeah.
Especially in a small
Yeah.
town, you're not going to generate enough views you'll be trying to live on, $10 a month or $20 a month in a small community in Northern Ontario. You need a broader
I know
audience.
that guy.
It's just hard.
I know that guy, Mr. Sunshine Baby. I've seen him a couple of times, and he sells a lot of merch.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Like a lot of merch. But I don't like, okay, and he does get into the CPAC where he gets into, the House of Commons and all that crap. When I can't see that, I would watch it for that. But his commentary is like over the moon.
Yeah, well, nothing against the guy, don't know him. But it's pretty interesting that a guy who started his broadcasting career by living in an RV and now is out there buying cars for people outside political venues. I'm uncomfortable.
Well, you can't say that, Rick. You don't know if that was legit or if it was just you don't know.
Even if it was a PR stunt, John, I'm not comfortable with
don't
it.
know.
I'm uncomfortable with that. Sitting outside a political rally and you're obviously in the bag for that candidate, and then you're out there either actually buying or pretending to buy somebody a car, and it could have been a stunt, but either way, I would not.
We don't know. We don't know.
Regardless, either way,
really
I ain't
happened or
comfortable with that.
was like you said, a PR stunt.
PR stunt or not. That's all, and it is a PR
That's
stunt.
wrong.
It's look at what a great guy we are. This woman's so oppressed by the liberal government. She needs a car. Let's get her a car. Welcome to the Oprah show where everybody gets a free car. What is this?
Okay, my question.
This is what I'm talking about. This is American
My
style
question.
politics in Canada, man. And
Ellen
I am
DeGeneres.
like, this is, I don't even think, I don't know if it's illegal, but I'm pretty sure it's not ethical.
It's not ethical. Okay, so she got the car. Who pays for the insurance?
Well,
Well, look at the pleb. Look at the pleb. He had somebody backing him up. He flew every rally, and he was all backed up with solid money.
Yeah.
Somebody who was the guy donating all that money? Was it a conservative or was it who? We don't know.
We don't know.
No.
And
they
don't have to tell you. And yet they sit there and say, look at the mainstream media. They're in the bag. Defund them. Take all that money away. They're just controlled by the government. Well, who are you controlled by, man? Like, who's paying your bills? Like, you can say, well, it's just donations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but who?
Yeah.
Who's donating?
Yeah,
How are you
and it's
getting all
the
that
same
cash?
stunt as Elon. Right? This is, to me, it's the same stunt as Elon.
Yeah.
Giving away the millions.
Exactly.
Giving away a car.
That's exactly.
Don't buy my vote.
Exactly, Isabel.
So
don't
right
buy
now
my
I'm
vote.
asking this question. Is there a sort of a mafia behind, well, I'm not saying mafia as a criminal organization, but a form of an organization probably would be the better wording, of a consortium, if you will, of those independent media that those guys are, part of.
Well, we know that foreign governments, they call it dark money. If your message fits their narrative, or if you're disruptive in some way, or you're doing something that that they want to push because it's in their interest, they might not even tell you. You might not even be aware. You might just be rewarded for your behavior and your narrative. So they feed that. You say this, they pump that money in there. And then these streamers, they look at the algorithm, when they look at the analytics, they say, oh, look, we got a spike in views. Oh, look at the huge donations we got when I said that, I don't know, F Trudeau. When I said F Trudeau 4 times, I got 4 times more money. So they respond to that. And these streamers, especially through these marketing companies that are directing them, they use those analytics and they respond to that. So foreign governments can actually influence the way the streamers mold or shape their messaging. So they're manipulated. It's a subtle thing, right? So if you say this, you suddenly get donations. If you don't say that, the donations stop. So you keep saying more of that. And the more you say it, the more they pump in. And now it's kind of like audience capture, or in this case, even, capture by a foreign influencer, which is working in the shadows, and they'll funnel the money in. And it's sort of like almost like laundering it in a way. It can come in through accounts, and the streamer influencer may not even be aware. So now you become an unwitting participant. In foreign infiltration, foreign influence.
I was just going to say that.
How are we aware of, say, for example, Rick, when Rick was going to say F Trudeau 4 times, like he said on his example, that, say, a rising dragon goes on giving a $20 super chat with a commentary along the way, just to give a little bit of a push to Rick, what just said, and probably go in the same direction with something more. And like you said, that's the way that they will unwillingly participate into that rhetoric without even knowing that they are stupid idiot, like the expression says. Sorry for the better word, but yeah.
Now, see, John,
that's what it is.
You are a fair man, because you and I, on a lot of things, we clash. And yet every once in a while, but once a month, you always send me a little donation. And that's a very appreciated.
I clash with everybody.
so not
just you, Rick.
Sorry to tell you.
I appreciate it, and I have to say,
I'm pessimistic, whatever you call it.
So even when John,
you're like my
Too, Rick.
son.
I always donate.
even when
John, you're like my son.
even when I
He said
clash
he
with
doesn't.
John, he's still very generous and sends me a donation. Thank you, John.
You're like my son,
Isabel?
John.
Oh,
He says,
you-
I don't hate anybody. I hate everybody equally.
Well,
Isabel, you're a very intelligent lady.
Oh, sometimes.
Also,
I'm very
No,
moral.
you are.
with regard,
she is intelligent.
I have to say one other
You
thing,
are.
John, about Lori
Thank you.
and her hurricane or tornado relief fund thing. Lori was part of the podcast here, right? And she came on and she did that thing. I wasn't really comfortable with it. And that's why I sort of ended that. And this is exactly why. So yeah, we put an end to that pretty quick because I didn't want that stuff going on. But that being said,
I miss
I
Lori.
sort of extended that privilege because she wasn't here at the time as just she's not a person outside a political venue. She was a contributor to the program. She was here, and I don't pay her. I don't pay any of you guys either, right? And so, Isabel, you came on the other night, and I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. And so we don't really have advertisers, but I didn't think it was inappropriate to give you let you plug your craft business. And
No, that was very appreciative. I thank you for that.
and so I didn't really have a big issue with it. And I don't even have an issue with Mr. Sunshine Baby or anybody selling some T-shirts or doing things to try to fund their operations if it's done in an ethical, fair way. And you try to keep arm's length from a lot of this stuff. It's difficult though, but that's why I've turned advertisers away for some of the things that I've done over time because I didn't feel the optics on it would be good. I've been very reluctant to do any even ads on this channel, on this platform.
Well, today's market, like you're saying, you have to be careful. Like, Dragon was saying, you think people are being honest by doing something like that, but it can be it could be devious.
Yeah.
Because it can be dark money.
Yes. And I
good point.
I've tried to maintain, my impartiality or my autonomy, even though I express my opinion quite often because it's a different medium. It's new form media. But I don't really want to, nobody owns me. Nobody controls me, as John can attest to, because even though he donates, he doesn't.
Well, you're wrong. You're wrong most of the time. That's why I keep arguing with you. Can you admit today that Zelensky has lost the battle? Could you admit it today or what?
No.
No. You still think you're like those left wing goddamn union guys from the European Union. They don't give up, eh? Like as long as it's not cashing in.
No, that's not it. No, that is not
it's
it.
all over, man.
No,
Come on, it's all over.
You all these guys that you listen to have been saying that for the past 3 years.
But it's over. It's all you don't take on someone like Ukraine.
He didn't
Russia.
take them on, John. They came into Ukraine. They took on Ukraine, and they're in their home.
Come on.
They got not
John.
that's the reality. I don't know why you have this upside. I do know why, because everything with people right now is upside down land. It really
There's
is.
two reasons why Russia went in. There's two reasons, okay? And you don't want to acknowledge the two reasons. So, okay, and that's the truth. There's two reasons.
No. That's your truth. That's what you believe, because that's
it's not what I believe.
Adopted.
It's what the truth is.
No. Yeah, there is actual truth.
Yeah,
and more than one thing can be true at the same time. Actually,
the big issue was they wanted to join whatever.
Here we go again. How did we get on the
union
tonight?
No, they wanted to join the NATO. Okay, that's the big issue.
Did they have they joined NATO? Was NATO membership imminent?
No, they never joined NATO.
No, they never joined NATO.
And the second issue is Donbass.
And it's got nothing
They were
to do with
killing
Putin. It doesn't
Russians.
matter.
They were killing Russians. They wanted all the Russians gone that lived there.
No, they weren't
were
Russians.
killing them.
No, John.
Yes, yes.
No, John, stop.
And that's
John,
the two
John,
reasons.
John, that's not the issue here tonight. We can explore this another night again.
All right, forget about it. But I'm just telling you, that's the two
you're
reasons.
regurgitating the Russian propaganda that I'm extremely familiar with because we've had so many of them on this program.
And no Russians live in Donbass, right?
John, I'm coming with the HMSC Montreal around your port, and I'm moving my turret around you.
Donbass. When did Russia go into the Donbass, John?
Huh?
When did Russia become? When did Donbass? Is the Donbass part of Ukraine or Russia?
A lot of Russians live there, and Ukraine was killing them off.
What do you mean Russians?
And this is way before anything happened.
Russians? What do you mean Russians?
Russians live in Crimea and
Russian
Donbass,
citizens.
Donbass, yeah.
Russian citizens live in
Canada
Donbass.
too.
Citizens.
Russian citizens lived in the Donbass.
Yeah, they still live there today.
No, John. That's not
You're
how.
telling me all Ukraine's there?
Donbass, after the fall of the Soviet Union, and Ukraine was given its sovereignty and its nationhood, and Russia agreed to that. That was part of Ukraine. It is Ukraine.
Well, why were Ukrainians killing the Russians there?
I've already explained this dozens of times.
Okay, forget about it. Just forget about it.
Because Russia, oh, for crying out loud.
I don't want to get in an argument with
Crimea and Donbass, Ukrainian territory. Part of Ukraine, that was Ukraine. The people living there.
What did Trump say today?
Ukrainians.
In his Twitter. What did he say today in his Twitter about
I didn't read
Ukraine? Oh, maybe you should read that.
Yeah, you know what? Trump is a twit.
Twit, yeah. He is, but he's right on this. He's right on this.
What do you mean he's right? You know what Trump is? I'll tell you what Trump is. Trump is.
Read it. Read his Twitter today.
I'll read it, but whatever it is, he's full of shit. And the guy.
Yes, he is.
And Trump.
You got that right, Rickster.
Trump is one of the rich guys who was as corrupt as the day is long.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
2014,
I agree with you.
And the problem in Ukraine was multifold. You had corrupt Russian oligarchs who were controlling the Ukrainian economy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Who did not want Ukraine to join the European Union economically. And you had U.S. You had American oligarchs in there who were getting their fingers into thing. Among them,
NATO. Rick.
No,
they didn't want to join NATO.
Is the excuse. Trump was one of the corrupt oligarchs who was involved in Ukraine at the time, and they were kind of facing off and kind of working with each other. Trump was he was working with Russia. He had investments in Russia. He was playing both sides off against each other. He was in there. And that's why, if you look back, do you remember Paul Manafort? Well, that was Trump's guy over in Ukraine. And you had these guys all jockeying for a position back in 2014.
Didn't he go to jail, Manafort?
Yes. He sure as hell did.
Liberals put him in there, eh?
What's that?
Liberals put him in there, yeah.
Yeah, because he's guilty as sin for what he did. And what has Trump done? Where is he today? What's Trump done for him? No, he's guilty.
What is NATO?
What, Sandy?
What is NATO? I don't know what NATO is.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization, formed after World War II.
A what?
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's the alliance of Western countries formed after World War II to provide stability among nations.
Delete delete NATO.
Delete
gone.
NATO. Why?
Delete it. It's World War II. It's gone.
No, Sandy,
World War III now.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Well, it's World War III. Yeah.
No, look, Cindy, you gotta know that NATO is part of the strategic police of the world that was basically defending everyone's liberty to goes around on any water plan for any reason, like commercial, for example. So
Thank you. I didn't know what NATO meant.
But certain people,
that's one example of what they.
if your economy
what
is
they are.
bigger than the U.S.'s, you're not allowed to join NATO. Only if the U.S. is bigger than you. Countries like Russia, China, they can't join NATO because their economy is too big.
NATO.
Yeah.
NATO is a very sketchy name.
Okay, let's move on to another subject.
It's run by the states. They run NATO.
You know what?
There's a reason. Why do you think that is,
because-
John? Because the United States, after World War II, had the nuclear arsenal, right? So there was a unipolar world, and
So does Russia. So why can't they be in NATO?
So to prevent the proliferation, of nuclear weapons, the United States, the United States was put at the head of NATO, so that not every country had to have them. But now Donald Trump has blown all that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if
now it's
Trump
very
even knows
destabilized,
what a
and
NATO
we're going to
is.
be we're in a heap of trouble, because you're going to see, if this continues, you're going to see a lot of other countries get nukes as well, and the world's going to be in a much worse place. This is not leading to more peace; it's leading to more instability and possibly real conflict. If this is the big problem, and that's the truth. So
You know what surprised me right now? Everyone has called tonight except for John from Ohio.
Yeah. Iowa John.
Except for John from Ohio. Yeah, that was quite.
He's probably listening. Yeah.
Well,
He probably
guys,
would know what NATO is. He would know what NATO is.
Election day tomorrow. Let's go around the horn and get final thoughts. Dragon, we're going to start with you tonight.
Well, guys, tomorrow it's going to be a tremendous day. It's going to be a blue wave. You're going to see everyone like basically going waves of blue everywhere. It's going to be tremendous. Please go vote tomorrow. It's going to be amazing.
And Isabel, all yours.
I'm hoping Ontario, not Toronto, Ontario is going to swing this vote and make it a blue wave. I agree with Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
We need a change, and everybody I talk to says the same thing.
John?
Well, like every election, I say vote with your wallet. Who's
So
gonna
buy those
give you
votes.
who's gonna give you the best bang for your buck?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And like I tell everybody, you know the difference between a liberal and a conservative? A liberal will take your money and spend it because they know how to spend it better than you do. A conservative, this is true. A conservative will give you money because you know how to spend it better than the government. And Poilievre said that how many times? A conservative will give you money because you know how to spend it better than the government. A government will take your money because they know how to spend it better than you do.
Well,
and that's the way it's been since day one.
That's interesting.
Well, tonight I agree with that one, John.
Pocketbook issues. Nobody seems to be too worried about the country staying together. Sandy Sunshine. Please.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what, Sandy? It's been a beautiful summer day here. We have leaves on the trees and dandelions growing in my lawn, and I love them. So I ain't taking the time to dig them up or nothing. And I'm not spraying no DDT on them either. So I'm quite happy to see that summer is finally beginning to emerge here. And since you're always the voice of sunshine here on our broadcasts, I throw it to you tonight. Please give us a ray of sunshine and a little hope as we all go to the polls tomorrow to vote. Say something positive. Give us something uplifting, inspirational. Sandy Sunshine, take it away.
It is a beautiful Sunday, sunny skies, blue sky. Vote tomorrow. Make your vote. Stay positive, stay strong, keep your faith, don't give up, and kick its ass.
Okay.
And pick up my trash on Tuesday.
Right. And if you do that, then I'm happy too. I don't care whether it's NDP, Liberal, Conservative, PPC, Rhinoceros Party victory. As long as you pick my garbage up on Tuesday, I am a happy camping Canadian. And with that,
and
everybody,
I love you, Dragon.
We will see you all back here tomorrow for full election coverage. I will stay here as long as it takes to give you full wall-to-wall
keep us
coverage
posted
until we come out of turn 4 down the home stretch and cross that finish line, and we know who the next government
I have
will be.
one story for you.
Oh no, Sandy, please, if you're going to tell it, we're on a really good roll here.
It's a good one.
No,
John will
Sandy,
love it.
save it for tomorrow.
Okay,
because
I'll
we
save
got
it.
to wrap it up.
John will love
Here
it.
we go. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow night, and we'll open the phone lines, and you
Brilliant.
guys can all participate in our election coverage
Call in, John, the next
tomorrow
time
night.
you'll love my story.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you guys, and we'll
Good night, everyone.
see everybody back here tomorrow for election night on the
Peace.
Flip side.
Flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of the blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his path. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmo's on a journey,
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.